tell you that, but it really does. But our first matchup, there you can see it. It's going to be Team Liquid taking on Virtus.pro. And Team Liquid, a little bit of a twist here today. With Dog in South Korea, he was unavailable to attend this match, which means that Sho and Fino will have to be picking up those extra decks for him.
Yeah, so we're going to have to show you an extra little bit of Fino.
Yeah, you have to just that little bit of extra Fino. I love him too because he's so adamant about his opinions and he speaks his mind.
Yeah, definitely a loud voice in the community if you've ever caught his stream. A lot of yelling, so maybe you'll be able to tune in and see some of that.
Yeah, and here's where Trinity Series really has its big moments is to stand out with the format. All 9 classes are represented across each team. At the start of the match, teams are going to ban 2 of the opposing team's decks, which means they will not be available for play. Of the 7 remaining, they'll choose 6 of their own to come to battle with, which means that they will omit one of those classes from play afterwards. With the 6 remaining classes, they'll play a last hero standing match where the first team to take 6 games wins the set.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. You get to see what do pro players think the best class in the game is, and right off the bat, Priest. Yeah. Both teams unanimously banned Priest first, signaling that they think that's even stronger than Jade Druid, which is a debate a lot of pro players have had for a while. But then following up that ban, the Druid, no one's really surprised by this. The top 2 decks for quite a while now have been Priest and Druid, and with the patch, that has kind of just strengthened those opinions.
Yeah, honestly, Druid I think got a lot weaker, but it's really the fact that still the scaling power of Jade's is so strong, and there you can see it. Team Liquid once again is going to omit their own Warrior. I believe the same thing they did last week.
Interesting. I think Warrior is one of the weaker classes. There's still a lot of promise when you open it up to 9 classes for Pirates to just sneak in, just as it can be very strong against some of the more uncommon played decks on the latter metagame. But the more interesting thing is Virtus.pro self-banning Warlock, which we've seen do very well in HCT, as well as some of the other previous tournaments. What's your opinion on that?
Well, it depends on, I think, how you want to bring a strategy to the table. With 6 decks, it's going to be tough, I think, to find counterplay across the entire board. Maybe they're trying to pick off a couple of decks and rely on the fact that some of the other ones are weaker, but there you can see it. Dog, again, he will not be in attendance this week, which means that his Shaman and Warlock, one of each of them will have to be played by Sho and Fino in this one, but you can see Mage Paladin for Sho, and for Fino, it's going to be Rogue Hunter. And missing a player definitely changes the dynamic of how you discuss in your team, how you do a voting system. You have to rely a little bit more on Pilot, I'd say.
Sure, yeah. There's more things are on your shoulders with only 2 players talking about it. You can't blame the third guy.
Yeah, you can't blame me in that scenario.
Right.
I'm not even playing. Virtus.pro, you got a good look at Dr. Hippie, runner-up at the World Championship last year, and there's the 3 of them. Naiman's going to be on Warrior Paladin, Dr. Hippie going to be on Rogue Mage, and Bunny Hopper on Hunter and Shaman. And it's really interesting to me, we talked about the Warlock a little bit and how the omission of it from their lineup is fairly interesting. And the reason to me it's so interesting is because these guys just love to play control decks.
Yeah, and Warlock is one of the stronger control decks, I'd say. It has such great ability to fatigue out some control mirrors just because of the merit of how powerful the Death Knight hero power is and how much of a difference it makes like when you use it every single turn compared to the other hero powers. Just the strength of that Death Knight alone wins control mirrors.
And you played against them last season. I mean, you were in Trinity Season 1. And you guys played some matchups versus Virtus.pro.
They bring wacky decks, and they love the control archetypes. We saw week 1, they played a lot of control decks, but just last season, they played a lot of N'Zoth decks. N'Zoth Shaman even, which is not typically a N'Zoth deck, and was very off-meta back then. It performed horribly. Didn't work at all, but they tried it. And so I'm looking forward to see them, go out of the box and do things a little bit differently. You kind of have to take those kind of risks.
Yeah. Dr. Hippie, he was a little bit serious. And for such a playful guy.
Wow, that's his bit. He's always looking serious, but on the inside, playful,
Yeah.
Just got that cold exterior, and then inside, he's a jolly little clown.
I remember talking to him right after the World Championships. He was at the Twitch after party. And I was like, man, that's brutal. 2nd place. And he goes, shrugs it off, and I go, I'm not trying to bring it up, but I mean, it's difference like $100,000 between 1st and 2nd. He goes, yeah, no big deal.
That's a little cold just dropping that on him right there.
He goes, well, I think 54% advantage. I was like, man, I would not have showed up to an after party if I had lost a match.
Why?
That big.
I mean,
I just would have been devastated.
It's still a great time, though.
I mean, he still won, like, what was it, like 150?
Hey, it's not bad.
You won a lot.
It's
Got a lot of dollars.
It's something to be happy about, for sure.
Game number 1. Looks like our rogue mirror match is underway. Oh, I see the smile from Dr. Hippie already.
So they must be maybe a little bit happy then that it's a rogue mirror, or they think it's just funny that both of them thought in exactly the same way. It's the beginning of the league, so no one's really got too much information on what starting decks are most popular when certain bans happen. But as the league progresses, these are, you know, stats that pro players are going to chart, like which class gets opened with the most common, and that'll kind of dictate their queuing order, because winning the first game is a huge advantage.
Yeah, last year was standing a lot different than Conquest, where in Conquest your goal is simply to get a win with all of your decks. In last year's standing, there's a lot of counter meta that goes into it. You know, as you go through your first games, your lineup is built in a way to, if you lose your game, have a strong matchup on the following one.
I don't really like this tech choice from Virtus.pro. The Cobalt Scalebane was introduced into the Tempo Rogue decks for ladder play to help you counter Jade Druids and Priest. And their bans are Jade Druid and Priest, so this tech card makes almost 0 sense in my opinion.
I think it's just a strong card.
I think it's way too slow in most of the aggressive mirrors. It's pretty good against control decks, but when you're eliminating 2 control decks from your opponent with the bans alone, why?
It's a big thing.
It's
like a delayed Iron Dwarf.
I would honestly prefer anything faster. Just you ban 2 control decks, you're gonna go.
Firebat wants a more aggressive card? No way.
Well, I'm not talking about aggressive because this is a very aggressive card against control decks. I'm talking about something that fights for the board. If you don't have the board and you play this down, it does nothing. It's a 5-mana 5/5.
It's like a Stranglethorn Tiger without stealth.
That's just bad. I don't know. Jade Shuriken pulled up off the Swashbuckler. It's not a bad card, but it's not a good card.
It's not a bad card, but it's not. I feel that way about a lot of cards.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's not bad, but it's not good, and that's really the only way I can think to describe it. I guess average would probably be the word for that.
Sure, but average isn't good in Hearthstone or card games in general, right? Like,
is average good in anything?
Right? Yeah, you never want to put. You don't put average cards in your deck.
Who comes home and is like, "Mom, check out my report card, average."
Not me, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't go to school.
So Dr. Hippie now has a couple of choices of what he wants to do with his opening turn. He could pull out his own patches. He could utilize the coin here to try and take tempo faster, compromising the value of the Edwin Van Cleef in his hand.
So, I just like an old Firefly.
Yeah, he could try and generate value off the hero power if he wants to try and extend this game longer, coining the dagger. But let's hear what Team Liquid has to say about the thoughts on how long that opening took from Virtus.pro.
Going captain, actually.
Yeah.
Which they could easily have.
So the question here, if we go double Firefly or Dagger, I think it could be important to have the Firefly for Slayer, right?
Yes, exactly. That's what I was thinking. So I think I'd rather just take it slow and Dagger here, right?
Yeah, but we go face, right? Like we
hit with the Dagger. Yeah.
Yeah, and face. Yeah. I like that.
That's it, right?
Yeah.
Smart play. I'm gonna be going 5 into 5.
So hero power, trade.
Yeah, hero power, trade.
And then there isn't to go face with Firefly.
Nah. I think.
Okay, I'm not scared because like it's only Cliff, right?
Yeah, and we have an answer.
Okay, here we obviously just go Firefly Dagger, right?
What about... Yeah, I like that. It's not worth using Shuriken here.
Yeah, no way. This is like 2 damage. It can be used.
And we can use it next turn. Like, we have no play next turn, unless they play a Pirate or Van Cleef.
I think I could easily go 1-drop Cliff next turn.
Yeah.
I'm gonna Firefly. I'm just taking my time here.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
So listening in there on Team Liquid and some of the thoughts they were having, they were kind of hand-reading Virtus.pro based on the hesitations. They thought maybe South Sea Captain was there, and then after that didn't show up on the turn 2, no coin South Sea Captain, and they figured, well, why are they holding on to the coin? And they were able to evaluate probably some sort of Van Cleef turn is coming. So they pretty accurately were able to figure out what's going on there.
Yeah, I like the way that they were discussing too. Like last week it was with all three of them there. It felt like it was a bit more joking discussion with Team Liquid, but now there's only two of them, and they realize that a voting system is not really a thing. They have to be a little bit more objective about their discussion.
Yeah, especially with the one being gone being Dog, because he's kind of more the clown of the group, I would say. You know, he's a great player for sure, but he definitely has the highest tendency, I'd say, to make jokes and have a good time. Just look at his picture on the screen.
Yeah. and now Team Liquid also gets the information that Virtus.pro has drawn patches at this point too. Swashbuckler's hit, and there was no cannon launched.
Right. Yeah, Edwin Van Cleef coming down, but that's no problem for Team Liquid. They already have a Spellbreaker in hand to be able to help alleviate this problem.
And you heard Virtus.pro talking about it earlier with the heavy hand they drew. They were talking about coin 5 on turn 4 into another 5-drop, but now this hand is getting awfully clunky.
Well, I mean, that's the cost of running these extra big minions that are, good against control decks. Cobalt Scalebane's a fine card to include in your rogue, but when you ban Druid and Priest, the viability of it goes down a lot. It definitely is not a good card for the Rogue Mirror.
And that's a big hurt.
Yeah.
If you're Virtus.pro, their hand next turn is looking very dry. Hey, nice pickup. Wait a minute, Prince Valinar, are they running a double Prince Rogue deck?
It seems to be very likely, yeah.
Because Prince Keleseth, I don't think is quite out of this deck. However, something I saw earlier this week was Amnesiac had actually cut the Shadow Steps from his Rogue deck. He was choosing to, he said there were simply too many situations where the card was too weak.
Right.
And just went with extra valuable minions.
Sure, that can make a lot of sense. I've also seen players say that the Princes aren't even that good and Eviscerate's better, but let's hear what Liquid is going to do about this Prince.
So initially I think Shuriken and SI, right? So they don't get healed, and then poke the...
Shuriken and SI seems nuts, right?
Yeah.
Let's see if we have anything else, though. Golaka, no. Golaka, no, it's not good. We need to kill our 4-3. The 5-mana guy, not so good. Yeah, I think it's just Shuriken SI, right?
Yeah. And poke the pirate.
This guy's toast.
Yeah, Shuriken did work here. So we know that they don't have backstab, by the way, because they would have backstabbed the 4-3. Unless they wanted to save it for Val's fine. Which, I don't know.
So we just hear about, 5-5 dragon.
Yeah, that's 5-5 dragon. Mm-hmm.
Nah, I think they would definitely use it because as we take a free trade on the prince, right? You don't want that. Okay, do we want to show them the card that we kept, or do we want to show them the other card?
So what would we hold? I think we want to show them the card that we hold, right?
Yeah, I think so too, right?
Yeah.
And how do we play around
Play around.
betrayal?
Yeah, exactly. Smart. So middle with
Flame and top right, Palspine?
White spine to the right, yeah.
Yeah. Far right, I mean. Well, I have like a small lag from an E. Kinda sucks.
Oh, damn.
Okay, you got Bomber. That's Patches.
Patches,
Slayer.
Backstep, Slayer.
Yeah, and kill the Spellbreaker. 7. Oh wait, you can kill. No, you kill this
Yeah, we kill
Slayer. Yeah.
Slayer and Spellbearer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm in charge now.
Vile Spine City here at the Trinity Series, but Team Liquid has fallen very far behind.
Well, not
I'm sorry,
very far
Virtus.pro.
behind. I was going to say, what game are you watching here, buddy?
I misspoke. I was looking at Team Liquid and I was like, goodness gracious, that's so good. And my head went Team Liquid.
Yeah, both of these players are playing very similar decks. We can see the Cobalt Scalebane in both of each other's decks, a card that only works when you're ahead. We see the Bone Mares in both of each other's decks, the card that only works when you're ahead. And one of the teams is ahead and has board, so their Scalebane is going to get value, their Bone Mare is going to get value, where Virtus.pro, their Bone Mare is just limp and useless in their hand.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this, I think, came down to the Edwin Van Cleef running into Spellbreaker on turn 4 from Team Liquid. But that's a risk that you often have to take. If that Edwin Van Cleef succeeds, I think you're looking at a very different game.
Yeah, then the first Vile Spine Slayer has to come down on that, and it just slows the progression for Liquid.
That means the tech choice for Team Liquid nabs them game number 1 as they take a lead in this series. Last hero standing, if you win with your deck, it stays on board, and if you lose with your deck, it's then out of contention. The first team to 6 wins takes this set.
And it is important to know that some of the cards were kind of like not shown. So they drew Scalebane, but they never actually played at that game. So Virtus.pro doesn't have perfect information because that tech card isn't always an inclusion. But they do know about the Spellbreaker now. Yep,
and again, Dog is not able to attend this match for Team Liquid, so that means Sho and Fina will have to pick up exactly one of each of his decks here today. And we've heard it in their discussion, I think, a lot less joking, a lot more serious.
Sure. Well, they might not even have to pick up any of his decks if they just sweep with Rogue. It's possible it could happen.
Glass half full kind of guy.
Yeah. So against Rogue, what would your counter be if you were Virtus.pro?
Well, to me, Rogue still is in a position where I think it struggles against aggression. I think it can struggle versus very heavy control as well. I think trying to fight this with any sort of mid-range deck, though, is just borderline suicide at this point.
Right.
Like, that's what Rogue is trying to take advantage of, is you playing a heavy thing that needs to live, and then them killing it.
With Vile Spine.
And then subsequently killing you right afterwards. So I think outright aggression is very strong. And I think very heavy control that's targeted at killing minions over and over again is also very strong.
Right. So the information Virtus.pro was able to uncover was they got to see the Galactic Crawler, right? And the Spellbreaker. So they saw 2 of those tech cards, and those are tech cards that are more kind of aimed at, what would you say, I guess, Paladin and like Pirates, so like more against like aggro-y sort of stuff. So they might try and queue up a control deck into it, and that's when the Scalebane might be able to get them, because Liquid kind of has like a jack-of-all-trades Rogue going on here. They have techs all over the place.
Yeah, well, we didn't see the entirety of Virtus.pro's deck. I mean, they very likely could have had those exact same tech choices.
Sure.
Galactic Crawler, despite being in there, I think Shaman, an aggressive Shaman deck is still going to work well versus Rogue.
There's just no AoE in Rogue.
Shaman has just been traditionally very good against Rogue. If a lot of it comes down to the totem pressure that always threatens Bloodlust and Flame Tongue Totem. A lot of it is just right now in Jade Claws alone. It can test your deck very well, and we've been seeing almost every Shaman also include in copies of Galactic Crawler. But last week we saw a Mage do a number on Rogue as well.
Yeah.
And that's the matchup they're going to go with, is Mage, and that is not a Quest Mage.
No, it seems to be one of the more burn mage kind of decks, kind of control-y, but we kind of saw this actually a lot in Trinity Series 1. That was when Burn Mage rose to popularity, where it wasn't like a Tier 1 deck in the ladder format or the standard competitive format, but in the Trinity Series, when they opened it up to 9 decks, Burn Mage just had so many different angles where you just play Alexstrasza and win in a lot of matchups, and this is kind of one of those matchups. If you can just live long enough, Rogue doesn't have innately any heal, so they can't get outside the range of Alexstrasza plus Burn.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, is the deck relies on keeping pressure on board. Rogue thrives in the same way a lot of very aggressive decks do with Synergy.
Right.
They typically need to have something out. And while this deck isn't quite as Synergy-based, it delivers all of its damage with minions. Like there's typically no eviscerates in here. You're not looking at...
You got the Prince.
Exactly. You're not always looking at Leroy Shadowstep as a big inclusion, especially with the popularity of Shadow Step starting to come out of these decks instead.
With the cards we've seen, I imagine there's not 2 Shadow Steps.
Right.
We've seen already a bunch of, you know, teching minions that would be in the slot of where that would be.
Using Tar Creepers.
If there is a Leroy, though, Leroy Molten Reflection, could be a cute burst combo later.
It's like a Shadow Step, except you play it immediately with no battle cry, so not at all like Shadow Step.
Right, you get no whelps.
Yeah. Not many whelps to handle. Virtus.pro, you know, Quest Mage was really popular in week number 1 as well.
Because of the polarized matchups, and you can use it to counter Q things, sure.
Yeah.
Especially if you're leaving up Priest. But I don't see a lot of reason to bring Quest Mage if you're banning Priest, because that's like its best matchup.
Well, a lot of times players were simply leaving up Druid and using that as one of their big counters. The other thing, too, is that Quest Mage seemed like it had some pretty strong matchups against Warrior, since a lot of the Warriors were Dead Man's Hand Warriors. And I think players anticipated that.
Sure. Interesting. Well, Team Liquid wants to try and protect its minions and continue getting chip damage in. They probably don't mind face tanking too much damage, as they have to imagine later on they're going to get Alexstrasza, but they may assume it's Tempo Rogue. I mean, Tempo Mage.
Yeah, it's always a possibility. Arcanologist is basically in every mage deck, so it's hard to really get any information off this other than that Virtus.pro, I don't think, brought Quest Mage to this matchup. That seems like a fairly weak choice. Quest Mage, of course, cuts a lot of its removal out to simply favor card draw.
Even Frostbolt sometimes goes by the wayside in Quest Mage.
Yeah. And honestly, to me, that's been the standard. Last week when Tempo Storm showed up with Frostbolt, I thought it was pretty crazy. Let's go ahead and listen to Virtus.pro, though. They're getting backstab on this Arcanologist. Let's find out how they want to handle the coming turns.
If they don't fit, they'd probably go face the longest. Doomsayer.
Feels good.
Yeah, feels good.
Say now need to think.
Yeah, not need to think. Just don't.
You have first now in the
Yeah, they still have a ping target. I guess it's better against like Acolyte. Yeah, it should be better.
What to do? What to do?
I mean, we do.
Doomsayer for sure, but you can rope. So you have a first now in hand.
Yeah, true.
Hey.
I wonder.
Hello, Bunny.
Yeah, I can just play it.
No, I don't think so. It's one off killing it.
Yeah. I guess just dagger.
Yeah. That was actually a very good draw for them. Unless they had another one. I don't swing with a dagger though, right? We have plays for the next turn, so I don't think I want to swing.
Yeah.
Well, you heard Bunny Hopper just show up, but I think the bigger story for Virtus.pro is trying to send the false read over to Team Liquid.
Yeah, they roped there on that turn 2. Well, not quite roped, but they took a really long hesitation on that turn 2, where they clearly were going to play Doomsayer from the beginning of the turn to try and indicate that they may have a second Doomsayer or they may have a Frost Nova in their hand.
The other thing, too, is Team Liquid just picked up Cold Blood, and that usually gives us a sign of their deck.
Yeah, usually if you're running Cold Blood, you run more damage with it, because damage plus damage plus damage equals
damage.
Dead
Lots
opponent.
of damage.
Yeah. You don't want to run only half of enough damage to kill them. You want to run all of the damage to kill them. So it usually indicates there's maybe some sort of charge minion like Leroy Jenkins to activate the Cold Blood, and there's usually a second Cold Blood.
Typically, if you're going to run half as much damage to kill them, you also have to have the freshly drawn Alexstrasza that Virtus.pro just picked up.
Yeah, that's a super key card in this matchup. You can already see they have Frost Nova to stall a turn, Ice Block to stall a turn, and then they can...
got a lot of draw there, too.
They got a little bit more draw to go with it, but they almost have like the game already building up in their hand. They're going to look and try and just shut down Team Liquid's ability to deal damage to them, utilize the Alexstrasza, and then if they don't get their Ice Block popped on that turn, or they find another Ice Block, they can then Fireball, play the second Ice Block, and Pyroblast for lethal.
Yeah, and so to me, the big one is going to come down to Cobalt Scalebane. You touched on it last match, how important of a card it is versus Control, because it turns such a small board presence into significant board presence at that point.
It is really good against Control. This is a matchup where you don't see this matchup often on ladder, so you don't think about the card, but it shines in this matchup for sure.
Team Liquid, they're debating their Cold Blood right away.
Right. The hesitation gives away a little information, maybe.
Maybe they're trying to send this signal over to Virtus.pro. I have a Swashbuckler, or I have an... I just don't want to play it right now.
Why wouldn't they play a Swashbuckler?
It just gets pinged off, maybe. Maybe you're trying to save it to combo, like gives your opponent the idea that Vile Spine might be there. Maybe you want to save it for an Edwin or something.
I kind of like just playing the Cold Blood and trying to get them. You're not going to win this game by going along. You need to rush them down as fast as possible.
Maybe
if you can force Virtus.pro to have to utilize Fireball on minions, that means Virtus.pro is going to need to draw a lot more cards to assemble the 15 to kill you.
Right, and that's what the Cobalt Scalebane is for, I think. But you
could have done it with the Cold Blood.
Exactly, you make a good point with that, but are they trying to get the Molten Reflection landed on Cold Blood?
It seems too slow. I don't know. That's the thing. You got to evaluate how long can your hand go.
Those are tough decisions.
Me personally, I think you got to play it as fast as possible, pressure the mage as much as possible, force the mage to utilize their burn. If they burn minions, they're going to need to draw a lot more cards to assemble lethal.
I just love the gist of every single Firebat analysis is like, you just hit them harder.
Well, you need... You're the beatdown. So let's hear Team Liquid's game plan and their thoughts on that Cold Blood, maybe.
I think I just like Scalebane.
Scalebane? Mm-hmm.
And kill the loot with Dagger.
Okay, then what do? They have 6 mana. They have one card in their hand is Secret. They're gonna draw one. So if they go Fireball, they can't really clear the board. So Fireball is not that great.
So it's like Secret and Valet, and they just clear one. And we have one more on the field.
I wonder.
I think it's Scalebane is just best here.
Yeah, just Scalebane, right?
Yeah.
Too soon.
Think about the meteor positioning also.
Yeah, sure.
Later on.
I don't think they played, and they haven't played any created by, but they could also just do it the same turn, I guess.
So you Fireball it post, right?
No, how about Ice Block and the Valet? And you kill the attack repair?
Yeah, it looks better.
Yeah, it looks better at the first sight, but... for the next turn, but we'll have to kill the dragon anyways. But this way we are more mana efficient. In the next turn we can go Fireball into the Glyph into the Fireball.
But then the next threat that they play is also buffed, which is a problem.
Yeah. So just like maybe just Fireball might be better. Yeah.
Right.
No, you don't trade. You just Fireball the dragon.
Why not trade? We use next turn Ice Block plus Meteor.
Yeah.
Trade.
No, you don't.
Next turn you're using Ice Block plus Wallet. No?
Okay, so this way is either from Sai or from the Slayer. Okay, yeah.
Maybe. Valet or Meteor. And I think Valet is more likely.
Okay, so you think they have Secret Valet and they didn't want to do it this turn? They'd rather Fireball?
Yeah.
Would they do it if they wanted to Blizzard next turn, let's say?
But why would it trade in? I guess it plays around Wild Spine. That's the only...
Because like if they want to go like with the Valet play, maybe we can go something like Swash, Cold Blood, Morton Reflection, and then we have like another like big Dark Reaper, right?
Yeah, I think I like that.
You like that?
Just pressure and Molten Reflection. They don't die either to Blizzard, so it's fine, right?
Yeah.
And this also plays around. Oh, it didn't play around. Oh, we did it in the wrong order against the Meteor.
Looks like a nice top deck.
You think so? Kappa.
No, I like maybe Nova is better. Nova with Ice Block. The next turn we'll go Blizzard for the turn 7.
No.
We're going. If we could stall for. Oh wait, yeah. Yes,
Yeah, use the Blizzard.
Ice Block ability, I think.
Yeah, we are using Blizzard for sure. No other play. Can see it.
Yeah, that's one. Yeah. So they have the mage cards and 2 other cards.
Ooh, these are some serious pickups. The Doomed Apprentice from the swashbuckling Team Liquid could disrupt Virtus.pro, but Virtus.pro drew Blizzard on that previous turn, and that was sick.
It's really locking out all of the damage that Team Liquid's trying to push. So Virtus.pro at a pretty healthy 16. You don't really ever expect to get bursted from that life total. Liquid does have Eviscerates, which could be a bit of a surprise, as I'd say the Prince Kelset is a more common choice. So some surprise burst with like Leroy double Eviscerate might catch Virtus.pro off guard, but
just Eviscerate in general.
Yeah, just in general, it can
it's a
surprise
card.
you.
Right now, you often don't think about versus Rogue if ladder is a primary part of your practice. It's still important to learn the matchups that are out there, even the popular ones. But I can't remember the last time a Rogue eviscerated me rather than played Prince Kelset.
Yeah, it's been a while. Doomed Apprentice though coming right out. That's interesting. I was kind of wondering what's going on with that card. You could use it later on in the game to try and slow down your opponent's ability to maybe lethal you at Pyroblast or something like that. They're just going to use it as offensively as possible here to try and shut down Flame Strike from being able to clear their board.
The other thing this does too is that Virtus.pro had planned to play Ice Block, Medivh's Valet, and use Hero Power this turn. They can no longer do that.
Yeah, so it's going to be a bit trickier. They kind of have to utilize the Frost Nova now, and that Doomed Apprentice is still going to be around, so they have to get rid of it. Otherwise, it's going to keep making it awkward for Virtus.pro to slow down the game.
Now, this turn, I mean, it's still fine. I mean, they could either Ice Block or they could go with just Frost Nova Hero Power,
but
and then set up for the Ice Block Valet ping next turn, but that's going to yield Team Liquid some damage.
Yeah. The next turn is where it gets a bit tricky because they need to set up Ice Block still. They don't have any secrets up. They want to cycle Arcane Intellect still. They haven't cycled either of them, and they need to get towards their actual win conditions. And they want to cycle this Glyph, which is now extremely expensive. So that Doomed Apprentice has to die at some point for them to actually complete the Freeze Mage game plan in a timely fashion.
Not much of a surprise to see Frost Nova here, I don't think. And now it's up to Team Liquid.
Right.
They need a big draw here.
Let's see what they have to say about their draw.
Flame Strike. We have lethal, right? It's okay. We push them to 12, then +2. Yeah, it's lethal if we Flame Strike. So just Dagger Dark Reaper, right?
Yeah, just take your time.
Yeah. Okay, where do we play the Dark Reaper? Far right?
It's... Far left or right? Yeah, I think far right.
I mean, it actually doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because they can't.
Yeah. But far right, I think. We don't want the girl to die.
They lose, though, if they Meteor, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. But potentially in future turns, right?
No.
One time killish. Oh, that's a good one.
So Ice Block, Pink, and Violet.
That's
a good turn.
Pretty well. Yeah, this one is just such an annoying feature.
Excuse me, you are on fire.
Alright.
This kind of sucks.
Is it enough with just Leroy, right?
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not. That's the thing. It's one off.
Yeah.
9, 10, 11, yeah.
Check for barrier first.
I think it's still worth to proc them, right?
Yeah, for sure. And poke Whelp as well with the dagger.
I don't want to kill the 2-3, right?
Oh, okay, sure.
Kill the 2-3, leave a Whelp up?
Yeah.
Things looking a little rough, but a defensive Alexstrasza, I think, could still get Virtus.pro out of this, albeit it will be a lot closer.
Yeah, it is very close. Team Liquid threatening to push 11 damage next turn with 10 on the table, 1 from the dagger. So Alexstrasza heals you to 15, so they're looking at either a Cold Blood or an Eviscerate to try and shut this game down.
And if they're still there, Shadow Step, but Shadow Step...
Potentially, yeah.
I think it's been removed from their deck.
It seems like it would be a likely card to be cut. As soon as you start taking out the Prince, the Shadow Step value goes down. But they do still have Leroy, so maybe that's in there as well. So potentially, 3 out of 17 to be able to steal the game if Virtus.pro decides to go with the defensive Alexstrasza. They do have other options. They have the Arcanologist, which could potentially, or maybe even guaranteed, draws Ice Block, depending on the secrets in their deck.
Well, they are going a different path than Alexstrasza. They feel they need to clear the board and then drop Alexstrasza.
Right. They don't want to be at 4 for the rest of the game. So
the problem is they got to get an Ice Block set to do that.
Yeah. So they want to be able to try and play Ice Block and remove some of the pressure from the board. And they're expecting that Team Liquid cannot table more power than they remove, so the defensive Alexstrasza will set them to a higher life total in the future.
And Cobalt Scalebane is going to play a large role in getting that power online.
That's an 8-5, so that means Liquid is going to be able to develop more power than they had lost during Virtus.pro's Ice Block
hallucination
turn.
Picked up.
Not a bad one.
That's like a Primordial Glyph, except it can also get Jaina or, like minions or something.
Right. And minions would be a welcome sight here. Just more stuff.
I think Pyroblast is a welcome sight right now. That's what I'm thinking.
Anything that can allow them to be able to do 15 in the future.
It's Counterspell.
Sure.
That's a great one.
That's a pretty good one.
There's the Block Pop. A lot more power, and Virtus.pro, they are in trouble right now.
Yeah, they have a Primordial Glyph left in the deck, but other than that...
Well, let's listen into VP. Turns are coming to an end here. You can see it on Dr. Hippie's face. Let's see if they still have hope.
They really need to kill the Arcanologist. Yeah, I wish they were gonna kill it.
Kill, please. Thank you.
Like a mirror entity. Okay, so we can get Frostbolt.
Why not Alex? Seems we're playing Alex, no?
Yeah, but if it's a mirror entity, like they pick it from their hand from Hallucination. But we have armor, so that's basically 3 outs. Yeah, that's 3 outs out of the
We're
level.
playing Alex now.
Then we're gonna have 2 cards. But yeah, I mean, yeah, we're not gonna be able to deal with the board. Yeah, we need to Alex. Yeah, you're right.
Blast RNG, please.
I bring life.
Okay.
Yeah, don't bump.
Don't bump, alright?
Yeah, just chill. Let him hit it with his face if he wants to.
But we didn't have lethal anyway, right?
Yeah, we would be closer. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Hey, this all goes phase, right?
Yeah.
And I saved the box stop?
For Wildspine Slayer. Yeah. And it's also Cold Blood activated, right?
We don't have any more Cold Bloods.
Oh yeah, right.
Does the dagger go face? You think it matters?
They still have barrier. So if we go hallucination into...
No, it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, does the 1/1 matter though? I mean, it's good against Flame Strike, right? Flame Strike, they just clear. No, they can't Flame Strike. We have the thing. We have the counterspell.
Yeah, I think we should poke the Welcome, right?
Yeah, I think so too. No dagger out, play around Harrison? Nah, fuck that.
No way they play Harrison, but...
Our Dark Reaper is a very big boy right now.
You find
What about Frost Nova first?
Okay, yeah, Frost Nova. Yeah, I like it. Yeah. Okay, Fireball.
Arcane Intellect.
One Arcane Intellect will play the Loot Warrior.
Probably Arcane Intellect.
I like Loot Warrior more. To one body on the board.
Oh, yeah. Probably, yeah. Loot Warrior.
I like Fireball Loot Warrior.
It can be the Shadow Step, right? Shadow Step.
Slayer.
We can just save the Deckard for...
Bone Mare, right?
Bone Mare, yeah.
And we don't want to give them an extra card, so we don't want to poke the...
Nah, we never poke that. We just poke face.
Yeah.
And we just lose the barrier, I mean.
Yeah, exactly.
Double blocking to Alex really can't do that much. If we drew Valspan here, I think we would be in an okay spot. Like, they wouldn't have that much burn, and a lot of our cards would be good. We still have like Hallucination, which is like a good, we can get burn. We still have like Swash. No, we don't have Swash, we play 2, I think.
You're right. We play 1 barrier, right?
Yeah.
We don't need to play Mana, right?
Why not? But we kill him anyways.
No, I think Arcane Intellect is more important.
Yeah, just like his intellect.
Okay, yeah, we can ping the Loot for them if we need it. Yeah. Okay, Frostbolt is good.
So now we use Mana, Frostbolt, Thanos?
No, one of them, Talnos Frostbolt.
Yeah, we said the same.
What about killing our Loot Warrior?
But what do you want to get? Like, we're not dead to anything, we are dead only to Eviscerate and the second size 7.
Oh, the Haha Pirate.
I wonder.
Okay. So you want to Frostbolt face, pink. Then you need to hit with the Loot Hoarder. Yeah, we still set up little. Yeah, I like doing that. Yeah. Wait, Mana Burn.
One of them first.
Meteor placement! Oh, Index doesn't matter here.
Yeah,
Betrayal placement!
Well, Meteor could matter with the second Hallucination potentially in the deck, but it's down to the wire here. Team Liquid.
I can't believe Virtus.pro turns this around.
Yeah, it was pretty close. There some questionable decisions ended them in a pretty poor position. But
well, I don't think it was decision making from Team Liquid that really took this game away. However, I think they did miss a spot where when they poked the Whelp, they should have poked face.
Right.
Because poking face played to their second Eviscerate, and it also potentially played to some of their Hallucination outs.
Yeah, I would have liked to see that as well, whereas killing the Whelp did almost nothing. And every bit of face damage is super important. You can see right now they have 3 damage. They could have been 1 damage off of lethal. Which is, I guess, slightly better than 2 damage.
Either way, Virtus.pro turns it back. And even despite that heavy mid game from Team Liquid that popped that block a little bit earlier than Virtus.pro wanted, they tie up the series at 1 game apiece. And in last year's standing, if you win with the deck, it stays on board. If you lose with the deck, it's out of contention, and the first team to take 6 wins takes the set.
Yeah, and that's good for Virtus.pro that they're able to get that win, even though just barely. That was their deck that seemed designed to counter Rogue, or the deck that they felt was the best of their available decks, to come up against this rogue. So if they would have lost that game, things could have spiraled out of control really quick. But right now they're in a spunky position here, 1-1 tied up, not that far on the back foot. But we are going to have Team Liquid able to select whatever class they would like, except for, Rogue, as it has been defeated, to try and challenge this Mage. And what beats up Mage?
Well, that's a great question. I want to remind everyone that Dog is not here today for this match for Team Liquid, so Sho and Fino are going to have to pick up one of each of his decks per player in this one. And you could hear a lot more deliberation amongst them rather than the typical playful attitude they've had. But it is a good question. What performs very well versus Mage? And I want to say that aggression might be one of their best chances, but we did see some Control Paladin last week as well. And Control Paladin can fare pretty good against Mage.
Yeah, Control Paladin's not too bad. Usually, in order to get it consistent enough, you're going to want to play like double Forbidden Healing, or at least that's how it was in Trinity Series 1. And that was a common tactic to be able to beat up the burn mages that ran rampant in that format. But one of the new additions to the Paladin arsenal that Control Paladin could really use in that matchup is maybe the new Death Knight. The new Death Knight actually offers a lot of healing and can really make Control Paladin be able to stomp out some of those Mage decks.
The other thing, too, is I've been seeing Hunter perform fairly well versus Mage. Just it has a lot of power spike potential early on in the game.
Bear Shark.
Yeah, Bear Shark is only taken down by Medivh's Valet. And that requires a considerable amount of setup. So I think that Hunter could be on deck for just its sheer aggressive power. We saw that match. Virtus.pro was struggling to handle Rogue's aggression, which Rogue typically struggles if you simply keep minions off the board.
Right.
And Rogue minions are a lot easier to take off the board than Hunter minions are.
Sure. One of the things that I hate about the Hunter versus Mage, though, Hunter seems on paper like it's such a great counter to Mage, but Hunter does not beat Mana Worm when Mage goes first.
Well, a few classes do.
Yeah, so when those situations arise, the Hunter just kind of crumbles. So when I was playing throughout the Trinity series, Burn Mage was like the deck to beat. And we tried using Hunter to do that as well at certain points because, you get Flare, stuff like that, to be able to take down Secrets is great tech cards that are available. But Mana Worm on 1 just butchers Hunter. A 1/3 that grows just keeps Hunter off the board, and you just really can't get any momentum going. And if Hunter isn't winning the board in the early game, they do nothing. So I hope they didn't try and fall into the trap of using Hunter as a counter, because I don't think it's as effective as people think.
Well, take a look at yourself and see how well Mage has been faring. Almost every single team has utilized Mage in some capacity, and for G2 last week, it was a pretty superstar performance despite their loss.
And that's just because Mage is a class that when you bring it to a 9-deck format, the way that it functions with Alexstrasza, it just beats some classes. Like, as you saw against Rogue there, like, if you're able to outlast their burn in that way, it's super effective. But as well as offensively, the threat that makes Rogue have to play super aggressively, because if Alex comes down uncontested, Rogue loses. They don't have any heal. So the fact that not every class is healing available makes Mage honestly kind of broken in 9-deck formats.
It definitely is a force to be reckoned with. That card has been good since the early days of Hearthstone. I remember we used to charge that bad Mamma Jamma for 0 mana.
Back in the Alex OTK Warrior decks.
Right in the face. Of course, we want to remind everyone, if you want to catch more Trinity Series action, you can follow the channel here, twitch.tv/ESL_Hearthstone, or you can stay up to date with schedule by following @ESL Hearthstone on Twitter. And you can use the hashtag Trinity Series. Tweet us, let us know what you're thinking about stuff and some of your favorite moments from the Trinity Series. But as this match now is tied up 1 game apiece, it is on deck for Team Liquid to find what they want to use versus the Freeze Mage, or Burn Mage, rather.
Burn Mage, yeah, right.
From Virtus.pro.
Really, the only difference between Burn and Freeze Mage is that there's Mana Worms. That's about it. So
yeah, which is a pretty distinct difference. I mean,
it's 2 cards, though.
2 cards is a lot.
Yeah.
It's almost 10% of your deck.
When you think about it that way, I guess.
Each card, it's actually 6.666 repeating, of course, percent chance or percent difference in your deck. So each card represents, that 3.33 repeating, of course, percent difference. So Leroy is 3.33% repeating, of course, of your deck if you choose to include that.
All right. I don't know. Well, when you think about it that way, you have to put it in the terms of like the actual mulligan percents and the draw percents over time to really.
I'm just trying to make a Leroy Jenkins joke.
Oh, I thought we were talking about math.
But it is about. I mean, that is the math on it. It's just funny that it happens to also line up with the Leroy Jenkins joke.
What's the Leroy Jenkins joke?
Have you ever seen that skit?
No.
You've never seen the Leroy Jenkins skit? That's literally why he's a card. Oh my gosh. Man, you youngins today. Go YouTube the Leroy Jenkins skit of World of Warcraft.
There's the Man of War.
If you haven't seen it, you need to go see it. That's why Leroy's a card.
And this is why... Well, Leroy's a card, great. But this is why I'm afraid of bringing Hunter to counter Mage, is because although Mage doesn't always have a super good opening, Mana Worm is a monster.
Well, again, it's only 6.67% of the deck. So...
Yeah, but when you full mulligan for it, you get to see an extra 5 cards at trying to find it. You get to see a total of 9 cards. You get up there towards like 40% of getting a Mana Worm going second. Going first, it's obviously better, but you get a decent chunk of the time that you're going to have it, and Hunter is going to be forced in this situation where if they don't have exactly 1-drop Crackling Razor Maw, they're threatened to get all of their early game initiative wiped out instantaneously.
So talking about the lineup real quick then, is there any merit to using this deck if you just feel Hunter doesn't have a lot of strong matchups on the other side?
Okay, I can see that as
well. Based on maybe the decks that you've seen so far, maybe Hunter is more anticipated for Rogue, and since the Rogue matchup is gone, they go, let's just try to use it where we can.
I could see that. That could make a lot of sense, yeah, for sure. But it's really hard to, this early in the set, I guess, identify what everything of their opponents are. But maybe they're just like, they've really nailed down all of the classes of Virtus.pro and what archetypes they are. But oftentimes I think you'll surprise yourself with the uses for some of the decks.
Well, be that as it may, VP's got a great start. Let's listen to this turn and see what they're thinking of their game plan.
Killing
Hyena, and then we have a problem.
Yeah, like
What to do?
for the Huntmeister.
What to do?
So coin Acolyte trade with Beast.
Yeah, but just decide which cat do you want to kill. I like killing the left one. I really like the right one. No, don't kill this one. This one is the cute one. No. Yes.
He kills the cute cat.
Why did you kill the cute one?
Just for memes.
Bow is always better than companion, right?
Is it though? Like, okay, if we get Leok, we just trade the 2-1 into the 2-2, and then we go face with the others. I mean, he draws an extra card, but like, I mean, he can also kill our Leok with Frostbolt, I guess. But Bow seems very weak to me. What if we get Huffer or Misa?
Huffer, then we have to trade. Huffer trades into Acolyte then.
And then we go face.
Yeah.
And Misa, we just go face.
Yeah. Yeah, Misha. Yeah, Animal Companion is good actually. All the outcomes are good.
Just go face, right?
Yeah. Yes, 4 health is very awkward for them.
Probably trade with Acolyte.
Do you like trading with the
I like trading with
Mother?
Yeah, with Mother and trade with... It's okay.
I wonder.
Funny, do you agree?
Yeah, it's super awkward, but you probably Frostbolt the Misha and trade the Mana Worm, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The other play is Arcane Intellect.
No. Next turn I want to play Doomsayer and this way we get rid of the Huntmeister in case they have it. Doesn't care about Fireflies. Oh, that's...
Yeah, I think we found the play for next turn.
If they play the Huntmeister, yeah, we just bump with the Acolyte and play Doomsayer.
So turn 4 is always awkward for Mage.
Mm-hmm.
So just Bear Shark, right? And they cannot go Valet plus Secret.
Yeah, just Bear Shark go face, right?
Yeah, put it in the middle against Cone of Cold.
Okay, Cone of Cold. Draw first.
Woo. Double Doomsayer draw is fire.
Yeah, that is a very spicy draw.
While we were listening to the teams, as soon as they drew back-to-back Doomsayers, Firebat and I both just look at each other and go, ooh.
That's exactly what they needed here. It's going to be able to slow down the Hunter so much. And one of the key things to note is it's before the high main turn, and it's actually on what a lot of Hunters have been playing now is Bittertide Hydra, which is kind of a pain for Mage to deal with as they don't really run Polymorph. So being able to deny Bittertide Hydra from coming down is insane, and being able to get the Doomsayers off before a high main can come down and activate a Death Rattle is also insane.
Yeah. They're pretty much any way you slice this, it's pretty insane. Team Liquid does have some significant counterplay, at least to this, with their hand. With the Kindly Grandmother and the Eagle Horn Bow, they'll stick around a threat and they get to push a little bit of damage. So I still think there's some good hope here for Team Liquid. It's just that the bulk of their damage has been stifled, but they are pushing 6 on board, 3 from the Eagle Horn Bow, and then potentially 3 more from their Kindly Grandmother Death Rattle.
If you just count up the bow damage, you get 6 damage from each bow. That's 12 from the bow. You got 6 more on the table. That's 18 there. The Kindly Grandmother connects for another 3. And then
hero power.
And then 1 hero power.
I mean, that does represent 23 damage, but everything has to connect. And that's going to take them at least 4 turns with the bow charges.
4 turns would put Virtus.pro up to 8 mana. So
sneak in right before Alex.
It could sneak in right before Alex, yeah. And they don't really need to connect any more with their board if they're able to do that. So Liquid may still have it yet.
I'm curious if they're going to go with the hero power of their Grandmother, though. The Grandmother also plays much stronger to the Houndmaster draw on this coming turn as well.
Yeah, the board presence is better, and if this is going to connect for 3, this is the most likely time it's going to be able to do it. After the bow charges, you need a total of 5 damage, so you need either 3 hero powers or 1 hero power and the Grandma connecting. So if you can just get it to connect, this is the best way to do it.
Yeah, Grandma's always looking to connect. She calls me up like every week.
And pinching your cheeks.
Till they're rosy red.
Is she a werewolf?
I don't think she is. I mean, she has some pretty big teeth, but I think they're fake.
Does she have big ears too? Because now you might be getting somewhere.
She does have big ears.
Does she have a big nose?
She does have a big nose.
Does she have big hands?
No, she doesn't have that.
Ah, okay. Well, you're good.
That's the gene that I inherited.
Yeah, that's...
Like, you remember that Burger King commercial where the guy has the really tiny hands and he can't hold the Whopper?
No.
That's what my hands feel like. Because the Whopper's too big. It's like he's got the tiny hands. He can't hold it. That's how I lost all that weight. I couldn't hold burgers anymore.
If you're going to do it, might as well be that weight, I guess.
Pretty poor secret options off this Primordial Glyph.
Well, they're not too bad. Meteor offers a lot of removal, and Blizzard is a freeze. And
I mean, it's removal what they're looking for at this point. They did mention they had an Ice Barrier, so Glacial Mysteries.
Yeah,
that's perfect.
Yeah, they spoke about that earlier.
That's genius.
That's interesting.
Mysterious, Glacial Mysterious Challenger.
They're realizing at this point that, well, Liquid has enough damage to kill us if we don't find our secrets, so we want to try and get Ice Barrier out as fast as possible, because Ice Barrier will buy us more time and allow our freezes to actually work.
When they draw the Houndmaster, that is heaps of damage. I think Y's here to hold on to the Galaka Crawler as well. Just get the hero power, look for kill command later on. Virtus.pro under pressure. Let's see if they can handle this.
No, here it doesn't matter. We won't win it anyways. We don't have enough time for Alex. You can just concede. Or maybe from the Glyph. They proc us on 7. Okay, so the only out is not the Glyph. Oh wait,
we play Secrets now.
We play Frostbolt and the Firebolt.
Frostbolt and Firebolt.
So we'll have 1 extra turn, no? With the barrier.
Because if they can proc us now anyways with extra damage, then it doesn't really matter. Also, we have some extra outs with the Razor.
So Firebolt, Frostbolt, right?
Yes, Firebolt, Frostbolt. I mean, they didn't have.
Nice. Smork.
Migo face. Easy. Okay.
Team Liquid Tons of damage pours through, and that means Hunter takes a win for them. 2-1 in this series now, and in last hero standing, when you win with a deck, it stays up. Losing with a deck means it's out of contention. First team to 6 wins takes the set.
Yeah, and everyone's counter decks have been working really well. I was a little bit skeptical about the decision to go with the Hunter, and it was face down with the Mana Worm, but even being faced in the adversity of the Mana Worm, that was a pretty spunky Hunter. He was able to take him down.
It's twice. It's spunky count is at 2 now. I'm gonna start marking this down. Firebat spunky counter 1, 2. That was the second time right there. But yeah, it's just the damage is really the key there. You know, they did draw 2 Eaglehorn bows, but they didn't have to utilize them both, and they got the payoff with the Kindly Grandmother turn. They drew Houndmaster right afterwards,
and it was able to connect for a huge amount of damage. And it was kind of interesting. Like Virtus.pro had a bunch of freezes as options off the glyph, but they weren't able to take them just because the Eaglehorn bows were representing too much pressure, too much damage had gone through. Honestly, just a teeny bit more life, and they would have been fine, but just the ability to ignore the Doomsayers and push all face just closed the game out too quickly.
Yeah, something that's a really big note there, too, is Glacial Mysteries. A lot of the spells that were introduced in recent sets watered down Primordial Glyph by quite a bit, and we saw that come into effect in that turn. Rather than having a different mage option, they had Glacial Mysteries.
They had great mage options, but they were just too low on life.
For the situation.
For the situation, right. So they had to pick a bad card that healed them because they just needed heal to outlast the Eaglehorn.
And we saw early on, one of the biggest plays that concerned me personally was Dr. Hippie's play into the Alley Cat board, where Naaman clearly did not want to kill Cute Cat. And Dr. Hippie just executed it right away.
Yeah, I'm not so sure how relevant that is, but
well, it's very relevant. We actually have a poll for it for you guys if you want to take a look. We want to know what you think the cutest card is. I mean, obviously Cute Cat takes it, but the second cutest card available, and there you can vote in the chat. Use the emote underneath the card to let us know which one you think is the second cutest out of this. Me personally, I'm a Snow Flipper Penguin fan.
I don't like the Snow Flipper Penguin. I'm typically a penguin guy, but it's kind of more of a puffin-ish bird rather than a true penguin. It's not plump enough.
Yeah, so you're more of a Ticking Abomination guy.
I don't know if I'm quite, you know, all the way at that level, but I like the little stone elemental guy.
Yeah, we all want to remind everyone, we just got word actually that Bunny Hopper is currently at the airport. Okay. So he's unable to actually play his game. He's able to communicate with the team, but he's not able to actually execute the game and communicate at the same time. It required 2 different apps open, and he cannot do that. So we will be having Virtus.pro pick up the 2 decks for Bunny Hopper due to just the actual functionality of play. He can't speak to his team and play at the same time.
I wonder what, you know, the TSA agents think about that. You know, you're walking through security, yelling about fireballs and stuff, and hopefully he doesn't get tackled in the airport.
Well, I mean, I don't think people are like casting fireball in real life.
Well, I mean, but he's going to be like yelling at like Naaman. He's going to be like, Naaman, throw the fireball, and the people are like, what is going on? This is an airport.
You're not Archmage Antonitis. You're just Bunny Hopper.
Yeah, calm down, buddy.
That would be unfortunate, but that we want to remind everybody about that. So somewhat similar situation to what Team Liquid has. Of course, they don't have the voice of Dog here, though. I mean, they're missing Dog completely.
The bark is gone.
And just now they're left to their own bite, which I think Dog's bite is worse than his bark. Personally, I mean, he doesn't really bark that much. He's a pretty nice guy.
Well, if you ever watch his stream, there's always a lot of roo-rooing.
Does he roo-roo a lot?
He roo-roos all the time. Here's a roo-roo, there's a roo-roo.
I watch Dog a ton. I don't think I've ever caught a roo-roo.
You've never caught a roo-roo?
Not from Dog, I don't think so. Shaman versus Hunter is going to be the take for Virtus.pro. Ugly mulligan off those 2 replacements, but typically this matchup is pretty Shaman favored.
Yeah, extremely Shaman favored, with Devolve being able to handle Bittertide Hydra, Scavenging Hyena, as well as all of the Death Rattles. The Weapon Removal Pirate, the Bloodsail Corsair is able to come out and get rid of Eaglehorn Bow. Yeah, and just generally the trades from Shaman are pretty good. Hunter oftentimes has cut Unleash the Hounds in the current ladder metagame. It may have been re-added for, you know, the tournament play, but that's a card you kind of want against Shaman. If you don't have it, you're going to find yourselves running into trouble.
Always got to mention Jade Claws, too.
Oh, my gosh. Just Shaman's early game package in general is just so much better at taking the board.
You know, Firebat talked about firing shots at players before we started the show, and I want to fire a shot right here. I remember when I gave 6-0 a Jade Shaman aggro list. And he said, why are you playing all this Jade crap?
Well,
and the next day, he was playing a deck list that was one card different. It had Aya Blackpaw instead of a Bloodlust. And he said, look at this great Jade aggro Shaman that Spo built. I'm like, I gave you that deck like 30 minutes after the set went live. Come on, man. Real talk, we did talk about it. He said he played 2 games. It was like, yeah, this is really good. So,
yeah,
he's a good guy.
All of the Jade cards rose to popularity very quickly. They were all like some of the highest win rate cards in every Shaman deck. You see them in mid-range Shaman, Control Shaman, but let's listen to VP and hear their thoughts on their Shaman.
Kill that and come on. Dude. Okay, it's not the worst one.
Which one kill?
Kill the left one, come on.
Whatever.
The last time we lost because we killed the good one.
We have our turn.
Still just Hyena, right?
Just Hyena, yeah. Hit the totem, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if they had Portal, would they have done it? I think so, right?
If they had what?
If they had Portal.
Yeah, I think they would have used it.
They could just go like Flame Tongue and do the trades. No, actually they don't have, like they have okay trades with Flame Tongue. And only Flame Tongue stays up, so... Yeah, but they also play the Firefly. Yeah, Flame Tongue is kind of bad for us, but I don't see like any other way. We just have Hyena here.
Yeah, I mean, we have Bow and Spellbreaker for Flame Tongue, it's fine.
Get really good. That's definitely Flame Tongue you double trade. Do you want to double trade? I think, yeah, it makes sense before the Huntmaster you just double trade.
Yeah, double trade.
Play the Flame Elemental.
Good start for Virtus.pro, despite their Doppelgangster and Aya Blackpaw. They're holding the board evenly, and that's super important to get to. That is basically the way they're going to win, is that Doppelgangster Evolve.
Yeah, the Doppelgangster Evolve will close out the game like you said, but in the meantime, they were able to just utilize Flame Tongue Totem, one of the most powerful cards in the entire Shaman arsenal, to trade up their early game minions and just keep Hunter off the board. And if Hunter ever gets the board, Hunter's not going to win.
God, I love the word arsenal.
Oh, yeah?
It's just such a good word.
A football team, too.
It's a football team? There's a football team called Arsenal?
Well, soccer.
Oh, okay. Cater into the European crowd, I see.
Well, they're still here for a little while, right? Before they go to bed, or I don't know what time it is.
I don't think European Hearthstone players sleep, man.
I don't think so either. I don't think Zixo's ever slept.
You guys are just robots. I respect that.
Well,
I, for one, welcome our robot overlords. Great turn for Virtus.pro as well. Just get stuff on board. If they can keep Team Liquid occupied long enough, that means they have the time to Doppelgangster Evolve. One of the weaknesses of Shaman, of course, is the lack of healing in the deck. They're very good at stabilizing at a low life total, but not versus direct damage cards.
Yeah, Hunter's got a lot of direct damage cards. So if the Shaman were to have fallen behind in the early game, that's where Hunter can pull away, but they did not. So let's hear what Team Liquid's game plan is now.
Yeah, that seems like the strongest.
Okay, I think their hand is like Doppel, maybe Evolve. They could also have Thrall, I guess.
Jade Lightning is also...
Jade Lightning, Bloodlust could be, I mean, if they had Pirate, they would obviously just do it here, so we know they don't have Pirate. Hopefully they have Patches.
Yeah.
Actually, that's not bad. And then we're just going Grandmother.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jade Lightning is off Cure. I mean, they don't always have it. If they have it, of course, it's good.
Easy, man.
Nice. And I don't trade.
Johnson? Why?
I don't like trading with Babushka. You
I
don't
think
need to
the
with Babushka.
1/1 doesn't really matter that much, does it?
Yeah, it doesn't. You Jade Lightning. I mean, we can consider hitting Babushka just to open it up. And then he will play the Huntmaster. That's more damage. I like just Jade Lightning. I mean, like 1/1 doesn't matter. Even if he Huntmasters it, we will play the Pingas Revolve. So like I like going face. 1/1. I like staying alive.
Yeah, I was like going face.
Yeah, you don't kill Babushka because it's really bad to kill Babushka.
Oh, good. Yeah, just Bear Shark Hero Power. And we kill the Murloc, because it can get buffed by Portal.
Uh-huh. Nothing else. Nothing else. Alright.
Team Liquid fighting to stay alive in this one, but that's their first 2 points of damage, and this is bad news.
Yeah, this is where Virtus.pro is going to be able to play 2 cards and 6 mana to play 3 6-drops onto the field.
And that's the question I was about to ask you. Do you kill this thing?
Oh yeah, for sure. You want to lower the chances that you roll a Doomsayer from one of your evolves. So getting rid of your 1-drops decreases the chance of that.
Much more about that than the minion on board?
Yeah, more about that. You just don't want your whole board dying.
And that
is a triple low roll.
Well, the average for it is 30 of stats total. So the 2 5/5s are average right now. The 5/3, though, has an ability attached to it. So is the ability attached to it where whenever a minion dies, that another minion dies on your side of the board, you summon a 2/2, is that worth 2 health in this spot? Because now it's like a lightning rod.
No, it's not good. It's a really bad. They needed like...
They're 2 stats under them. Again, the average is 30 of stats from Doppelgangster Evolve.
Right, but just 30 stats is not really a fair
something else to
comparison.
note. Center minion is Lucky Do Buccaneer off the Doppelgangster Evolve.
It's a pirate.
Yeah, it's a pirate.
It can die to Galactic Crawler, so that's another disadvantage of it. But there's a lot of like taunt effects or other various effects on 6-traps that
so
could be super
you're
powerful.
looking for effects on this, not just stats necessarily.
Right, like taunt would be amazing because like it'll have low attack and high health, so technically lower stats, but then it also has taunt and it would stop the Bear Shark from getting a free trade on something like your 5/3. So there's like a lot better outcomes than just the raw stats that could happen in this situation.
Trading back and forth. This is where Aya operates pretty well, though.
And they're setting up here, Team Liquid, for the Galactic Crawler top deck for a huge swing.
Yeah.
They're realizing that, hey, I could double kill command and take the least amount of damage possible, but that's not going to win me the game. How am I going to swing back onto this board? And the way they're going to do that is by drawing a Galactic Crawler and killing a 5/5 with it.
Any merit to smacking that 4/1 then?
There was a little bit, honestly.
Oh!
And the top deck setup is rewarded.
That is a huge draw. Now, the problem I'm seeing with this is that Team Liquid is starting to run out of resources. And that's really where Hunter has been dismantled. It's not necessarily getting over the damage hump. It's not necessarily just stifling the board pressure. It's the combination of those two that's the really big hit. So here, they still have some more trade gas with this Spellbreaker here, but Virtus.pro has some draw potential with this Mana Tide. Let's hear if they feel like they can get through this spot.
Monkeys.
Double Mana Tide, Jade Claws, trade with the Bear Shark, and go face with it.
What to do?
Do you think last card could be Unleash or something?
It doesn't seem like... No, but they play Hyenas, so this should be... They might Oh wait, can't you maybe trading? No, I like trading there with face and playing the Mana Tides.
Is there any point in playing Doppelgangster?
Oh yeah, actually, maybe using Doppelgangster is better. Yeah, I like Doppelgangsters, yeah. Yeah. They need to trade with Doppelgangsters, yeah.
So we just push for lethal?
Yeah. But then we could have...
That's definitely not lethal.
Yeah. No, we have the trade. Feels bad.
Are we still dead to Bloodlust? We kill 3, they have 2, it's like 6 plus 4 is 10. Yeah, it's lethal.
I think we kill command 3/3. kill
Yeah,
1/2/2.
Yeah, there's no
face
other way.
with. Do we trade with the 4/3 though?
I mean, we have to play for the board at this point, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, we're dead to Bloodlust anyway, so let's not like over discuss it. There's like, wait, does the fact that we're dead to Bloodlust mean that maybe we go face? 2, 4 plus 4 is 8. No, we definitely need to kill one. Okay, we kill this. We alley cut. Just take the value trades, hope for the best, or go face.
I think we should full value trade, right?
We're still dead to Bloodlust. I mean, yeah, we'll most likely have it.
Try hero plan first. And off totem.
You can just go face with all, no?
That's hard. Do we need to? We have one that has the use both skill commands. Still good.
Trade with all beasts?
2/2 into the spot breaker, killing the with the grab with the Jade
I like
Plus
killing
and
all
playing the
beasts.
Pengalster.
I like killing all beasts.
Why?
beasts? Yeah, you just kill all
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, but yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, like this.
It's very weak to unleash, but I mean, we should find good options of these 3 draws.
Lul. I just played, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is smart trading with the beasts. So Jade Light,
Just trade the Jade, right?
yeah, trade
And
the
then you
Jade.
Jade Lightning the 4/3, and then play the thing from below. And I think you don't play anything else.
Yeah, that's enough.
I think Doppelgangster was good. Made them so our mana had survived.
And you heard it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
And Virtus.pro takes game number 4 over Team Liquid, able to stop that Hunter from being able to take down more of their decks. Every single counter queue thus far in the match has worked out successfully.
Yep, tied up at 2 games apiece. And again, last hero standing. Deck that gets knocked out is out of contention. The deck that wins stays on board. Dr. Hippie, his back was against the wall. It looked like they were hurting. And you heard his reaction to it. Monka S. Those are the great team dynamics we're looking for out of Virtus.pro. There you can see it. Nyman going to have to pilot Warrior and Shaman. And you saw Dr. Hippie, I'm sorry, Warrior and Paladin. We saw Dr. Hippie on Shaman that game. Bunny Hopper is at the airport right now, currently unable to play and communicate at the same time. He's present. Just his communication is all that's available. Unable to actually use a device and play Hearthstone to communicate and talk. Dog unable to make the match as well. So Team Liquid in a similar spot. Sho and Fino will have to pick up one of each of his decks.
Right, and one of his decks might come in handy right now is controlling Warlock archetypes are usually extremely powerful against Shaman, and due to the fact that they have Abyssal Enforcer able to deal 3 damage across the board, Hellfire, and the new Defile card, which just completely crushes Shaman board states.
Yeah, I think that Warlock just has a great matchup versus Warlock in general. I'm sorry, Warlock has a great matchup versus Warlock in general, versus Shaman in general due to the nature of that board clear. It's a very board-centric deck, and if you're able to contain that, it's such a big advantage. But we've been seeing Warlock struggle in matchups where it needs to contain the board in week number 1. Over and over again, they failed to check board presence, and then we're getting pushed out of the game by either big buffs or by bloodlust or just by lack of a second board clear sometimes.
Wow, there's so many board clears you can play. You can play double Hellfire, double Twisting Nether, that's 4, double Defile, that's 6. If you count Doomsayers, you can get up to 8. You can play Doom, you can get up to 10. You can have a third of your deck being...
Yeah, but why would you do that?
And then you can play 2 Shadowflame. You can have 12 cards of your 30 cards.
Let's be realistic, though. We don't need a third of our cards being board clears, especially not if some of them are conditional or super high cost. Twisting Nether has been cut from a lot of these builds.
I think Twisting Nether is so good.
I agree with you. It's very good, but is it necessary is the question. Because you don't need to do everything with the deck. You just need to do enough.
Right.
And honestly, that's one of the most common deck building mistakes I see amongst players. Not necessarily professional players, but amongst players who are trying to push ranks on ladder and stuff. Sometimes your deck is doing too much. Tune it back a little bit. Do just enough, except that you're going to lose sometimes when you can't handle every single thing that's thrown at you.
Yeah, but I want to win all of the time.
Well, you can't do that, Firebat. It's cards.
That's true.
You lost to a Silverback Patriarch, man. You can lose to anything pretty much at any time.
Yeah, you can. But it was off Web Spinner.
Well, created by. It's Crane's favorite mechanic. He talks about it all the time if you follow him on Twitter.
So Team Liquid still trying to debate what deck they want to use. They have other options that could be pretty great against Shaman as well.
Mage is pretty good still.
Yeah, exactly. The Burn Mages can oftentimes run Volcanic Potion included in there as tech to help them against Shaman, and just naturally having Flame Strike, Blizzard, Meteor sort of effects is super powerful against board-centric decks.
Look at the man himself who didn't do his hair this morning with show. It's evening, of course, in Europe at this point. It's, it's getting pretty late over there. But he will be piloting Warlock. We have gotten word, and I know he's been streaming a ton of Warlock lately.
Right. I've played Show in quite a few best of 5 series. I just kind of challenge random streamers, and we happen to stream in around a similar time. I think I've played him like 15 to 20 times. And
that many matches or that many games?
That many best of 5s.
Oh my gosh.
He's brought Warlock to almost all of them.
That's such a good deck.
Yeah, he really enjoys playing Warlock, and he's actually been just straight up dominating me. And my worst win rate out of against every player I've played best of 5 against is against Show. And it's mainly because he kind of plays something different than a lot of the other players play, and so I'm not as teched towards him.
Yeah, I've noticed that you tend to play strategies that anticipate your opponents bringing what is accepted as the best strategy.
Right. Yeah, because you try and counter the best strategy, and then over a large sample size of playing, that's what most people will have, so...
How much different has that experience been to you as well versus last year's standing? Like when you played in Trinity Series last season, was it difficult for you to make the transition back and forth between Conquest and last year's standing?
It is a little bit more difficult because it's a lot harder to find people to practice with. Because you have your innate team, but sometimes, time zones, or they're traveling to tournaments, or they need to fulfill their streaming obligations.
Or they're tied to time.
Or, well...
Hashtag shots fired.
So then it can be hard to find time to play with them, and then trying to find someone else to play with. You have to then teach them the format, explain to them what's going on, say that there's 9 classes, because you can't just queue up a ladder game and test out your decks. It doesn't work that way.
To take a step backwards, I do want to talk about Tied to Time for a moment here.
Okay.
He's a guy who took a lot of breaks in his Hearthstone career, but almost every time he came back, he saw a great performance. Almost every single time. And I've noticed that as I take breaks at certain times when I was competing, that I would come back more refreshed and invigorated by my time off, and I would have this passion for wanting to play in a giant burst. And to me, that's a lot of what tournaments are about. You need to prepare for them, but you don't need to be on clock 100% of the time. Like, you need to be prepared for the right moment.
Depends what kind of tournament you're playing in. At the Trinity Series here, you kind of got to be on the clock all the time because it's a league rather than just a tournament. So it goes on for 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And you don't have the luxury to take a bunch of breaks, but let's hear Team Liquid's thoughts on how this game is going.
Good. We just leave them on board and we shut up the...
It's always tap, but should we poke? As we know they don't have claw, but poking is good against Flame Tongue.
Okay, yeah, sure. I like it. I mean, face damage doesn't matter, so might as well poke, I guess.
I mean, some scenarios, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
No, you don't activate the bubble.
I think taking the second bubble away plays really well around Defile. Because otherwise you have one. The Murloc has one. The Spire has 2. Yeah, I think you trade bubble and then you push face and then you play Primal Firm.
Left.
Also, in principle, you can trade all of them in next turn, which is like very likely what happens.
I think Voidwalker is better in this board state, right, than Mixed Dress.
Yeah. Wait, I think we top like every time, right? There's like no other play other than top here.
Yeah.
So
But it's
let's
Voidwalker or Mixtress.
Yeah, well, let's top first, see what we get. Okay, that's never bad, right?
Yeah, I think Voidwalker. The times they don't have Flame Time,
Yeah.
it's super awkward for them.
Yeah, also Flame Talk on 3. So they're most likely like Mana Tidy next turn, right? And then we'll just go Drake and chill.
Yeah.
Triple trade and mana type all the way on the left, right? Because mana type is
Right. No,
On the right.
no left. You play Jade Lightning next turn now.
It becomes later. It becomes worse later, and you want the ones that spawn out of this to be next to like the Jade Lightning spawns and stuff like that.
Right.
You know, I was wondering why Bunny Hopper's microphone sounded so good. It's because it's his phone.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's the purpose of a phone, right? Make calls, talk to people.
Have good audio.
I don't know.
It's got to be clear.
Honestly,
Unless it's an actual phone call.
right.
They're like on like Skype or Discord or something, I imagine.
I don't think I've used my phone for the purpose of a phone in like a year.
What even is a phone?
Like the phone is like just a dusty, seldom used app that you can't delete. Like everything else is the phone.
Twilight Drake coming down. Devolve is fairly powerful against just overstated minions that are somewhat conditional, like Twilight Drake. I'm curious if they think about using it here ever. But I think the bigger story is how the board is developing. So far, Virtus.pro has not been able to really snowball any pressure, but their bigger game plan looks to be leading into Eye of Blackfall and then following up with the pair of Jade Lightnings to get this done.
They have a very powerful hand to be able to do that.
Great roll.
And they have to make a read here on the situation a little bit because they saw the Twilight Drake come down into this board, and this is a very high value board that Virtus.pro has presented. It's got a Mana Tide and a Primal Fin totem on it, so it would justify Hellfire, I think, in most cases. So they can kind of put a soft read that Hellfire may not be there.
You gotta take out that Acolyte. If you let that Acolyte live and you run into a Defile position, you have lost the game.
Okay. It plays around Defile to kill it for sure. Let's hear Team Liquid's thoughts on how this boiled down and what they're going to do about this board.
That's a very annoying board for us, though. Like,
yeah, I think we still just Despicable Demon because they cannot value trade with the Flame Tank. And they probably don't play patches because they play Squires, right?
Yeah, they don't play patches.
So if they want to value trade with Flame Tank, they're losing their totems, right?
Yeah, and we also developed the 5-4, right? So
yeah.
It's like their best play is probably just Jade Lightning and trade the 2-3, which is okay for us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Jade Lightning trade with Primal Form.
Probably.
Yeah, I don't see any other play, but you can just wait a bit.
What do you think about trade Primal Fin, play Corpse Taker? Is that crazy?
And I like playing Jade Lightning because we have Aya for the next turn, so at least it's gonna be. What about the coin? We use the coin, yeah. So we play Aya. We play.
No, yeah. Jade Lightning is good because we ramp our Jades, and even though we want reactive cards, we are going to be very weak to what is that 3 mana spell called?
3 mana, yeah.
The 3 mana 4 damage spell. We have a huge problem with that. If we just
We're
trade
using
the
Jade Lightning now.
Yes, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Cards, man.
I think we should always tap here. And then we can consider whether we should go Drain Soul plus Coil or Defile or double Drain Soul. I think I'm leaning towards Drain Soul Coil. Play Happy
Should we call it first then? Should we call it first then, or no?
I mean, we might get Hellfire, right? Or something.
Okay.
And then Drain Soul, the Mana Tide. We leave up the Flame Tank.
Yeah. We should call it first. Just get another Happy Goo.
Smiley face.
Unlucky.
Side effects? No. Trust me.
If we devolve.
I is bad.
Yeah, it's bad for sure. Like the obvious play is Jet Lightning and the Flame Tongue. Be playing Devolve is better. Devolve is gonna be 1/1 and it's gonna be the 2-mana creature. And we can play Hero Power, maybe Portal to get spell power. Great.
I wonder.
Probably just lightning power, maybe.
Jet Lightning, Hero Power.
We could hero. If we Jade Lightning, we could hero power first, and if we get spell power, then do we devolve portal.
Hero power processing.
Yeah. If it's not spell power, just Jet Lightning DC.
Well, Virtus.pro's been hanging in there, but the board is starting to dwindle. And Team Liquid, with a freshly picked up Hellfire, that's that double board clear. And this is starting to become a big problem.
Yeah, it's getting out of control really quick. Virtus.pro's board never really has taken off yet, and the only thing they got going for them is this kind of crazy Corpse Taker tech, which maybe...
It's a bit late at this point.
It's a bit late, but maybe there's some sort of board state where they can stabilize with a Corpse Taker somehow and utilize its Wind Fairy potential.
To me, the clear value of this card is you start pushing early.
Right.
You get a valuable board. You play Corpse Taker on the turn, your opponent's going to Hellfire. We've seen Ardent Squire in there, so we know Divine Shield's coming.
Yes.
I imagine Alakir is probably in here.
Right, to get the Wind Fury so that the Corpse Taker actually means something, it's a threat.
Right, and so when your opponent Hellfires into your valuable board, if you have Flame Tongue, that's 10 extra damage immediately. Even if you don't have Flame Tongue, it's still 6.
It's a lot.
And you get to put a body behind that. So I imagine that card is in there specifically for that turn 4 power spike.
Right, it's a really cool tech inclusion by Virtus.pro, and it really seems to help out potentially the bad matchup. So it's a tech choice where it's not that bad against other aggressive decks because it's a Divine Shield taunt, and then against the controlling decks like Mage and Warlock, which are popularly used to beat up on Shaman, it is a crazy sticky threat that can help you play around board clears. I really like the deck.
That totem is very important for Virtus.pro, allows that Firelance Portal to wipe out both opposing minions and get some board presence, but we can see Team Liquid.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, the third
gosh.
board clear. And Team Liquid's done a really, really good job of holding on to their original Defile. They've had it since the beginning of the game, and they've had many boards where it was pretty tempting to utilize it. But they've navigated this game very well to make sure that they still have it. And because of that, it's going to be almost downright impossible for Virtus.pro to get onto this board.
So the question here is, are you using Hellfire, are you using Drain Soul Defile, are you looking at the Stonehill Defender? There's a lot of different options here, and frankly for me, it's looking like all roads to Rome at this point.
I think most of those options are pretty good, yeah. I think Defile is more valuable than Hellfire.
Even if you got 2 of them?
So many.
Yeah, Defile is really good, and Defile works really well with Defile. You just kill everything.
Defile works really well with Defile.
Yeah.
Ah, yes. The old Defile combo. It's a lot like the Eviscerate combo.
Right.
They're great when you pair them.
They are going to opt to go for the Defile instead of the Hellfire.
Yeah, this is a jungle indeed, Stonehill, and Virtus.pro is looking like they're going to be out of this pretty soon.
Right, so they value Hellfire more than they value Defile. Maybe because they might be able to Hellfire a board and keep some of their own minions alive, whereas Defile...
Still Mana Tide, still Flame Tongues in the deck. Let's listen into VP, see if they can get this board developed and get underway.
Hero power.
Golems are a girl's best friend.
Now we don't Felguard, right?
Nah, we want to revive. We don't revive anything. We revive Felguard.
What? We revived two 5 demons, man. 2 Despicable Dreadlords. And 1 Voidwalker. Isn't that complete nuts? Don't they just lose to that?
Huh. Yeah. That's true. We have 2 Despicable.
Yeah, I don't think we play the Fell River here. There's like no reason to, right?
Yeah. So what do you want to do here?
Almost out of time.
I think I just want a Hellfire.
Okay.
Tap Hellfire. And we healed our face.
Okay, sure. I mean, I'm kind of scared of double evolve now, but no, it's probably fine.
I mean, we have Defile and we get the AoE. Like, we play Gul'dan next turn and we have the AoE.
Yeah, but I'm just scared that if they double evolve now into Cloudless, we die. That's like the only thing I'm very scared of.
That's for sure as well.
And Dark Reaper. Do you trade? For sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
why not? No, actually, yeah, I like playing Dark Reaper. If you roll the totem, you play Dark Reaper, Monetite, and Dark Reaper, Monetite, and Hero Power. If you get the Hero Power totem, then the healing totem, yeah.
Works once.
Yeah. We don't have Flame Tanks, so it doesn't matter. It really matter how you position it. You play Dark Reaper and Monetite. And play Elemental.
You just pass, don't kill it.
Yeah.
Well, they're getting some stuff rolling here, but Ghoul Man is about to come down, and he's going to summon a 4/5 man.
Well, it may not necessarily come down. The Defile here is really good.
You're ridiculous.
No, honestly, like, Defile kills everything, and then you have 8 mana to work with. You could play Felguard, Stonehill Defender. This is also very good.
I don't know if you remember what Ghoul Man does.
It does kind of...
That's it.
Yeah.
There is no more Shaman. Thrall is gone. Not right now, but he's gone. Wow. 2 thing from belows, it still won't be enough. The hero power for Team Liquid now drains for 3 every single turn. It hits face, it hits minions.
Right.
They can hit themselves if they really wanted to.
Whoa, don't kill that. You needed to evolve that. You wanted to try and devolve a Doomsayer there, so killing the 3-drop eliminates that possibility. So I really dislike the trade.
You know, to be perfectly honest with you,
they were pretty screwed.
Yeah, I just think they're donezo. Like, Ghoul Man is the card that Virtus.pro is under pressure against. Right. They have to power spike long before that happens. And when it happens, they don't have the pressure necessary. If Team Liquid was even under pressure in this spot, I think they could still have a chance. But they've only forced a couple of AoE cards. They haven't forced many other resources. That's just the big turn and the big payoff that Team Liquid's looking for.
Interestingly enough, there's no Wind Fury on the Corpse Taker. It is only in there for Taunt Divine Shield.
That is very interesting to me.
That seems odd. It seems like a missed opportunity because the Wind Fury would be so powerful against Warlock and against Mage.
Our projections were incorrect.
Yeah, I thought it was genius for the format, but they just wanted more taunts.
Look at this. This is pretty smart too, utilizing this Cult Master prior to declaring this board. I like this.
Yeah,
I would have gone to my turn and been like, that's a great Defile. Let it rip.
Still a great Defile.
Yeah, but they made it an even greater Defile. This is why I have a tough time now. I just see things that are good and I'm like, that's so good. I don't look for the better things.
So, Virtus.pro needs to draw Doppelgangster.
Oh my. Oh my.
And get some very fortunate 6-drops.
I mean, you're looking at like triple Cairn being necessary to win this game. Is there anything better than Cairn in that spot?
Triple High Main?
Triple High Main I think would be better, yeah. How about a second Evolve?
We wait until turn 7. Triple Archmage Antonidas, generate 3 fireballs in your hand.
Whoa! Sick!
Still not enough.
Team Liquid's about to be at 35. Card advantage, board advantage, everything. Ghoul Man is sick. And now you know that there's probably 2 Evolves in hand.
Right, or Bloodlust. Bloodlust is definitely on their radar. But yeah, the Dirty Rat just assures that there's no minion to evolve, which is very nice in case they happen to be holding on to a Doppelgangster.
And something I just really want to highlight here is how strong Warlock is against decks that are aggressive, but not recklessly aggressive. Against Pirate Warrior, Warlock really struggled. It had an inability to handle weapons effectively, even if you had the Gluttonous Ooze. I've Gluttonous Ooze Arcanite Reapers and still struggled in that matchup before. It's the decks that are board-centric, like Murloc Paladin, like Shaman, that Warlock really thrives in. If you're playing against a lot of those decks on ladder, that's the card to look for.
And here is the big moment, the double evolve. What is in the box? Uh-oh.
Let's go again. Oh! They would hand over an Evolve!
You're handing over an Evolve. That is the worst possible 2-drop in this situation, so that's a bit unfortunate. Because there's no other one that's strictly bad for you.
I think Doomsayer's worse still.
Well, Doomsayer evolves again.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Way worse than Doomsayer. The only one that does anything when you cast a spell, right?
Well, there's a couple of Wind Furies. Let's listen to Virtus. Nope, we're not. We're going to listen to Team Liquid since it's their turn. A couple of Wind Furies should be easy.
Don't evolve. No, don't evolve. Don't evolve. Oh, is it lethal anyway?
Yeah, it's lethal.
Oh, okay, then you can meme. Wait. Okay. That's exactly what I was thinking. But we have lethal with the hero power, so it's fine.
Oh yeah, we could have. Oh my god, we could have gotten tucked.
No,
what? Could we have gotten Mindbreaker? Did we have a free card? Yeah, we could have gotten Mindbreaker.
Oh my.
Team Liquid trying to figure out if their BM could go awry at the end. Those are some serious team dynamics that they have going on at the end. You need to know if your BM is on point.
Right, that's the most embarrassing thing you can possibly do is when you have the game completely won and you're just trying to play cards for fun and you end up throwing the game. I've seen that happen in tournament play.
Twice for me?
I think like 5 times.
Whoa.
I've just seen it. I think I've casted it happen like twice.
Have you ever had it happen to you?
I don't want to talk about it.
With that, we're going to be taking a short intermission here at the Trinity Series. Of course, we want to give a thanks to Intel and to Twitch, who have made the Trinity Series possible here at the ESL Studios in Burbank. But game number 6 is coming up, so don't go anywhere. More Virtus.pro versus Team Liquid right after this.
You guys seeing this?
Game, record, and stream without compromise. Only on Intel Core i7.
Welcome back to Trinity Series Season 2, brought to you by Intel and Twitch here at the ESL Studios in Burbank. I'm Nathan, that's Admirable Zamora, joined by 2014 World Champion James Firebat Kostasic, and we're in the middle of quite a humdinger here. These guys have been slugging it out back and forth, and the counters are working thus far.
Yeah, that is something that's kind of important to note, is that it opened up with a mirror match, and one of the players obviously has to win, but then since then, every counter deck has worked successfully. So it's just been back and forth, an absolute slugfest. And you like to see that. You don't like seeing when like a counter deck gets upset and doesn't work. And it'll be interesting to see if, as the counters keep going back and forth, the influence of the picks and bans starts to come into play. And we get to see who's left with no counter to their opponent's deck at the end of all of these trades.
Yeah, we want to remind you guys that Dog was unable to attend the match. He's in South Korea at the moment, so Sho and Fino having to pick up a deck each. But something on Virtus.pro side as well. Bunny Hopper is in attendance at the match, but he's currently at the airport. So he's able to communicate, but not able to communicate and play at the same time. So Naaman and Bunny Hopper are picking up 2 of his decks as well. And as we roll into game number 6 coming up, Team Liquid currently with the advantage.
Yeah, pretty big advantage being up a game, but Virtus.pro looking to try and tie it up. They get to choose what deck they want to play up against this Warlock deck. It was the controlling Warlock archetype, so they have a little bit of information on that. They got to see Drain Soul and Happy Ghoul. They did not see any Twisting Nethers, but that doesn't mean that they're not there. Everything else seemed pretty standard. Yeah,
I totally agree with that. And as we roll in, again, as you mentioned, like the counter meta back and forth, we are in last year of standing. Mm-hmm. This is not Conquest. So your goal is simply to win as many games as possible by snowballing it. In Conquest, you have to win a game with each one of your decks. You'll typically build a more balanced lineup or something that's very targeted across the way. In last year of standing, though, it's important to be able to answer back and forth.
Yeah, and we see here Virtus.pro choosing to counter the Warlock with some sort of control warrior archetype. It's not Quest Warrior, because there's no quest in hand. Quest Warrior oftentimes a little bit better against Warlock, because you can actually pressure them. But it's going to be maybe more of a N'Zoth Warrior, Dead Man's Hand Warrior, something of that nature.
Well, there's the Mountain Fire armor, so that tells us a little bit. But oftentimes you still find Dead Man's Hand.
One
copy of it in this deck. And I think it's such an important tool because Warrior has some pretty serious draw potential right now.
Right.
And as you burn through your deck very quickly to find answers and to find your very powerful cards, what ends up happening is they can actually just get ahead of the Warlock where a fatigue battle is concerned. That gets compounded if Gul'dan hits the board for Team Liquid. They no longer have life tap, so they won't be drawing any more cards. Those extra cards for Virtus.pro could give them that gas.
Have to draw any cards, too.
Exactly.
That's another big thing. Oftentimes, in control matchups, you're at this point with Warlock where you're like, well, if I don't draw cards, then I'm not going to have the resources to fight for the board. I'm going to lose the board. But if I do draw cards, I'm going to lose in fatigue 15 turns from now. And you have to try and tap just the right amount to hopefully be able to increase your percent chance of getting Gul'dan in time, enough to where you're satisfied with it, but not too much to where you start guaranteeing losses in fatigue. It's a very tricky matchup to play from both sides. The N'Zoth Control Warrior against the Death Knight Warlock.
This is a weird matchup.
Yeah. One of the things you want to try and do as the Warrior player is get multiple N'Zoths, obviously. So you want to use Dead Man's Hand on one copy of N'Zoth to be able to get an additional one, and then be able to play 2 N'Zoths, which is how you get your armor gain so that the Warlock hero power doesn't just kill you from the Death Knight.
Yeah.
Because you're going to revive, 2 Mountain Fire armors the first time, and then 4 the second time. So your opponent has to clear them, otherwise they die. Mountain Fire armor presents you with 6 life when it dies. You look at that, that is hefty chunk of life there, 36 additional armor from that alone.
Yeah, I was actually fairly surprised at how Mountain Fire armor ended up panning out in the early stages. I thought it was going to be better against aggressive decks because of the body, but so much better versus control. Let's listen to VP as these early stages get underway.
So you think they would play Battle Rage? I guess we should always.
Doesn't matter. We never clear, right?
We should tap first anyway.
We can just stone kill, but I think tap is better, most likely, right?
Yeah, tap is better, I think.
Okay.
I think we should always poke it, because it plays around Battle Rage. And we're gonna heal them anyway when it dies, right?
Yes, you're right.
And you play a Void Walker.
Yeah. Sure.
Why do you call?
Yeah, I like this a lot.
I'd really want
What
to
about Slam?
Battle Rage. Slam? Does it help? The weapon is just much better. What's the Battle Rage for the next turn if they put something? 3 mana minion into Battle Rage.
Yeah, weapon is better.
You don't think they play Brawl in the deck?
No, I mean, I don't think they will play the blow before we like...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, Coin Despicable is actually... I think I like tap Mistress here. What do you think? Or just Stonehill Mistress? Because we have a play next turn anyway, right?
Yeah.
So I think I prefer tap, and if they hit the Mistress, which they will never do.
Yeah, I like that.
We're happy.
I like that. Hopefully they don't play Cold Light Oracles though. That would be kind of bad.
Side effects.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Trust me.
You heard the Cold Light Oracle concern. It's a card you have to think about in this matchup until you get some information otherwise. It's difficult to discern what a warrior's doing until you start seeing some key cards.
Right. For all Liquid knows, it could be like Dog's Dead Man's Hand Fatigue Warrior. But
it's been a popular deck so far in Trinity series.
Right, and we can kind of see, judging by the minion there, the Death Rattle minions already starting to accumulate, that it is most likely going to be more than a Zoth variant. But it could still be just that as a attack card in there. Yeah. It's not a bad card.
I mean, you could technically run Cold Light with N'Zoth. That's a lot of cards you're committing to a build.
And one of the problems is that deck sometimes still does lose in Fatigue the N'Zoth Warrior. Even with one copy of Dead Man's Hand, because of how aggressively you have to cycle your deck to stay alive, because of how inefficient your cards are.
Yeah.
You look at like how Whirlwind Execute is utilized. You're using 2 cards to kill one of your opponent's cards.
Yeah.
So already you're having to use more cards out of your deck than their cards. So when you're trying to fatigue somebody, it can be a little bit of a disaster.
A lot of Team Liquid's cards are dead, though. You know, you think about Defile, you think about Hellfire. Those cards don't really pull a lot of weight in the matchup.
Well, until N'Zoth comes out.
Well, you know.
then you're definitely going to have wanted those cards for sure.
Ooh.
That's one of the ways that you definitely don't lose in Fatigue with the N'Zoth deck, is by getting those in there and then bringing them back with N'Zoth and then having them die again, then adding another N'Zoth to your deck and having them die again. So
little big baby dinosaur.
Yeah, you're able to add 10 cards to your, or 9 cards to your hand with Dead Man's Hand, and then you know, usually 4 or 5 dinosaurs.
There's got to be a way to get 10 cards. Oh, if you have Gadget and Auctioneer out, that's how you'd get a 10-man Dead Man's Hand. Let's listen to Virtus.pro, because we're starting to get to the mid stages of this game, and development getting a little bit tricky.
Yeah, maybe.
What now?
Indeed. We start with Stonehill, right? I think we just go double Stonehill and then Happy Ghoul. We're gonna poke with Mistress and get free heal.
Wait, why can't we just Siphon Soul go face or something? You don't like that?
I'd rather save Siphon for a better target. And this is the turn we can get, like... I mean, we will heal them, right? The Mistress won't do any damage, so if we hit with it, we don't give them the heal value, right?
So you wanna do Stone Heal, Ghoul?
Yeah.
Okay, let's find minions then. Just take it more the value minions, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, this is so bad.
Yeah, this is awful. We wanted Lich King or something.
Do you think we're gonna hit? No, right? No.
No. Because...
So do we do what we thought about? Do we really need 3 cards? It's gonna be 4.
What now?
Slam, attack, battle rage.
I think drawing 2 cards is enough.
Just read the whole board.
What are you saying? Slam?
Slam first, then attack.
Right?
Slam first, then attack, then battle rage. Oh, I don't know, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. We can shuffle the next turn. We got in that.
Just Abyssal? Or you want... I mean, I can't like Abyssal because we can like cool down as fast as possible, but...
Yeah, and we're gonna be the aggressors, so we will never... Like, we will have a board, and we will kill our own guys.
Yeah, I like it.
Well, Firebat and I are having a bit of a debate here over the Dead Man's Hand. Do they want to Dead Man's Hand in all their extra removal or not? I say they do. Firebat, you disagree.
Yeah, I think oftentimes you have enough removal to answer all of the Warlock's minions just innately in your deck. So you want to try and get as few removal pieces in your Dead Man's Hand as possible so that you can add additional value to your deck and win the value game. So otherwise, what can kind of happen is the Warlock Death Knight can remove all of your minions because the hero power is crazy strong at being able to do that, and they have their removal tools, oftentimes Siphon Souls, Twisting Nethers, and Defiles. And then you can find yourself in a spot where they can actually kill all of your stuff and still win in Fatigue, even being behind like 10 cards, because the Warlock hero power is so good at racing in Fatigue.
So what do you think about this? They decided to not shuffle in the Whirlwind, which I definitely agree with not shuffling a Whirlwind. But they shuffle in the Execute and the rest of this.
Well, the thing is, why is there a hurry to shuffle?
I think because they have N'Zoth and they plan to play the N'Zoth on 10.
Why is there a hurry to play the N'Zoth?
I think they want to get pressure out. They want to force answers. I like it.
Why do you have to pressure?
I like it.
You have inevitability, in my opinion, if you play the slow game.
If you can force their hand to crumble apart, maybe you have something there. This is the debate that I love.
This is, well, there's two approaches to the game, right? There's the one where you say, all right, my hand has got the N'Zoth and I have some death rattles, I should try and play as aggressively as possible to try and kill them. And the other is saying, well, my deck is designed to be super slow. I feel like if I just wait for resources, I'm under no pressure now and I can outvalue them over time. I think outvaluing them over the time is more of a consistent game plan than trying to bum rush them down.
I tend to agree with you in theory. I think, though, in practice and in this game in particular, that the way the game's panning out is it's going fairly even so far. I think they're in a very safe position with where Team Liquid's pressure is concerned. And so being able to handle Gul'dan is something they want to do. And I think that's going to require a N'Zoth fairly soon, potentially.
They have the Brawl for the Gul'dan.
I think that's why they're fighting so aggressively. You don't want to use the Brawl prior to that.
It seems like a really premature Dead Man's Hand, in my opinion. But let's hear what Team Liquid's thoughts are on potentially the Dead Man's Hand in their upcoming turn.
Tap Siphon. Face. right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I can play on that.
Yeah, I think you trade and play Dentos.
Top deck one.
No.
Because it tells you that it's created by, right? Or does it not? No.
That's kind of annoying to deal with, actually.
We can go Talnos. Talnos, Drain Soul, the Ensot, it goes down to 4, and then we defile. But the 3/6
No, it doesn't.
die.
No, we need to trade the Drake into the 3/6 and then defile. Wait, does it clear?
Doesn't clear.
Are you sure? Yeah, it clears, right? Because Enjoth goes to 4.
Almost out of time.
I think we should just like pass this turn, tap and Twin Emperor, though, and actually soul our steel and kill the Taunt.
Do your play. But I think the Thanos was a clear. Did you count that it deals 3 turns off instead of 2?
So I put down Armor Smith, I hit.
Do you need to use Armor Smith now?
Okay, yeah, true. So I hit within dot in a battle reach.
Not sure about it.
Yeah, that's drawing cards is good, the battle reach, yeah. You need to have fire inserts. Another consideration is maybe shield block. Actually, shield block is better. With shield block, we can slam the Drake.
Yeah, you could also shield block and then slam the taunt and go face twice.
Yeah, might be an idea.
I think you need to use Battle Rage now.
You don't think that I need to use the battle rage now?
You need to use it.
Yeah, you need
like
to.
it.
Well, kind of a mishmash use of the resources here. A couple brawls available, Sleep with the Fishes, but those cards are starting to become dead.
Yeah, they're becoming quite useless, and they have still even more removal left in their deck because of the Dead Man's Hand cycled in. They were able to play the N'Zoth on 10, though, because of their cycle in, but they were unable to follow up with the second N'Zoth on 11, even though they had the dream scenario when they drew it, just because they don't have enough minions anymore. Yeah. And if their N'Zoth gets answered, that's their deck, pretty much. So they're in kind of a scary spot. The fatigue count, wow, that is a bold tap by Liquid there.
The other thing, too, is the double Armor Smith still in the deck.
Sure.
A lot of people think of Armor Smith, it's good versus aggro and bad versus control, but it's quite good versus control in a lot of scenarios where it just amasses so much armor that your opponent doesn't have the reach to get to you if you can kill all their minions.
Yeah, it's really good at helping protect the board against Defile. You get a lot of armor when they defile it.
Yeah.
And the armor count matters with fatigue approaching. Liquid last turn, they cycled the Thalnos, they tap again. They only have 9 cards remaining in their deck. They're aggressively drawing for that Death Knight. And I think probably 4 card draws ago, they should have maybe slowed down or definitely at least thought about stopping drawing, because you have to realize the Warrior deck doesn't have that many threats, so you don't actually need that many resources to remove all of their threats. And if you can set up yourself in a position where you win in fatigue, then as long as the Death Knight's not in, for example, the bottom 5 or so when you start running out of removal to answer the Warrior's minions, you can find yourself in a favorable spot. But
now, my question there is, if it's in, say, your bottom 5, 6, 7 cards, whatever it's going to be,
you lose anyway if you're drawing for it.
Okay, well,
that's the problem. Yeah.
So if you're not drawing for it, are you more disadvantaged or less disadvantaged? Like, can they find a window here for the Death Knight to close potentially?
Looking at, they have 9 cards remaining in their drawing, so they have 8 cards remaining up against 16. It's going to be really tough, even though the hero power, swings for 6. You deal 3 and heal 3, whereas the warrior hero power swings for 2. You only gain 2, so they get a 4-point advantage there. But even with that included, it's still going to be really tough for them to be winning in fatigue at an 8-card disadvantage.
So to summarize things, this was a great counter queue,
and they're tapping again. They're starting to reach the point where when they find it, it's not going to matter because they're assuming, I guess, that the minions will matter, but clearly the warrior's going to have answers.
Well, let's listen to Virtus.pro. I agree they have the advantage, but this turn, looking pretty high and dry.
Like executing just to wait out more stuff for the goal. Maybe to get 4 more damage.
We have time to think.
What now?
Yeah. I mean, we can safe execute for the last demon. Last big target in their deck.
I like hero power. And pass.
Bunny?
What now?
Yeah, I think just hero power is fine.
It's only 3 damage in turn. If they will play more minions, we can just brawl. Even one more minion and we brawl, I think.
Play the demon.
Farseer face and Happy Good. Maybe they use brawl.
Okay. I mean, I kind of like going all in at this point. Like, I don't see how we win if we don't risk. Like, they have so much armor. I mean, I don't even know if we win with Gun at this point.
Yeah, but also, like, if they brawl, they don't have the brawl for the cooldown, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just baiting it out.
Okay, there's the one brawl. They also shuffled that brawl, so they could easily have another one, I guess.
Yeah.
That I might have the weapon. I think to attack or not to.
Do you want to play Armsmith?
No, why would?
I can play next turn off with the brawl.
Yeah. If we need to. Armorsmith.
I think Armorsmith actually becomes really good later on.
That's the last Armorsmith.
I wouldn't want to play it now. Thing is, like, he could just bump it, and with the 2 demons he resummons, he just kills it. Gives us 2 armor. I think.
Damn, Gul'dan last card really hurts, man.
Yeah.
I know who you are. My eyes are open.
Maybe double minion? In hero power?
We can play Whirlwind, Sleep with the Fishes, play Taunt, and Hero Power 3. Yeah.
Then we don't play Taunt. If we were on Fishes, we just Hero Power then.
Yeah, but I can. Oh, yeah, true. Just Hero Power. But I can.
Yeah, like, we could play Whirlwind Fishes, and then Hero Power, and if he goes DK, we go Brawl, and then we play Direhorn afterwards, and if he clears it, we go in Zoth.
I like it. Agreed?
Yeah, play it.
We can actually think about playing the Armorsmith here now. If he wants to play Decay, then he will give us 2 armor from the two demons that deal 1 damage each.
But Armorsmith in the late game just gets more value.
There's been a lot going on in this game, but I think a lot of different ways you slice this. Virtus.pro comes out with a win in this one. Brawl set up for the Ghoulman turn. Team Liquid did not find this Death Knight soon enough.
No, they didn't find it soon enough, but something I want to kind of stress and note here is that Team Liquid's at 30 life after finding the Death Knight, so they were not under significant pressure. They could have potentially tapped less because they still have a fistful of resources that could be used to answer warrior threats and maybe be in a better space in this fatigue position.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think that Team Liquid could have slowed this down a lot and just played a game more that's like a do-nothing style. A lot of times in a control matchup, you have to be able to control your patience there. Just because they're under the clock where fatigue is concerned doesn't mean that they need to exacerbate that position.
Right. It's not about doing nothing per se. It's more about evaluating your resources. And your life total is a resource. And by your card count is also a resource. And so the struggle in the control mirror is trying to evaluate how many taps are necessary to be able to stop all of my opponent's threats. And I believe that they kind of overestimated how many taps they needed to stop the Warriors' threats.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because they still have 7 cards, and they're at 35 life, so they didn't even just ignore threats for a little while and use their life total to bank some damage so they wouldn't have to take any taps. I think it was just a little too aggressive, in my opinion.
Yeah. From a philosophy standpoint, I agree with you. This particular game, I don't think they were getting out of it. This is a very strong matchup for Virtus.pro.
It's close. The Death Knight being that deep in the deck is definitely a big struggle. But if they just ignore threats for a little while, Virtus.pro doesn't want to commit more minions because they're afraid of playing into an AoE. So they get in some chip damage, and then Team Liquid can leverage their 30 life points to buy maybe 3 or 4 turns, and it acts as a tap, but both players draw a card, so the fatigue is more even.
And to me, that's really where shuffling in the N'Zoth was such a big benefit for Virtus.pro.
They always shuffle in the N'Zoth at some point.
Right, and so the ability to play that first N'Zoth and simply try to force resources from Team Liquid
it made them overtap.
Right, it put them under pressure where they felt, we need to end this game, or otherwise this is going to get out of control. We know the second N'Zoth is there. And that's why the matchup, I think, is so difficult. But either way, Virtus.pro comes away with the win here, and we continue to have the back-and-forth series. However, this is still, I think, in Team Liquid's advantage here, as this series now gets tied up at 3 games apiece. This is last year's standing. Yes, they get the counter queue. The deck that wins stays on board. The deck that loses is out of contention. And that Rogue Mirror match that Team Liquid took in game number 1 could spell a victory for them here if it bounces back and forth continuously.
Well, the interesting part about that is eventually there's going to be some sort of mismatch coming because people's classes are going to be kind of dwindled down, and maybe someone didn't prepare for something, or just because they selected different classes. So the difference in the decks that they've chosen to bring, because you get to ban one of your own decks, and so you're picking 6 of the remaining after your opponent's 2 bans, that difference could actually be a big deal on how they line up against each other.
That's right. And Naaman, Dr. Hippie, and Bunny Hopper here doing a pretty good job so far. I like the ideas I've heard, but sometimes they've been awfully quiet. You know, when things are getting a little bit rough, you don't hear Virtus.pro say too many words. I also want to remind everyone, Bunny Hopper is at the airport right now, so he's able to communicate with team, but he's not able to communicate and play at the same time. So Naaman and Dr. Hippie are picking up those extra decks that Bunny Hopper brought. And similar situation on Team Liquid side. Dog is unable to attend the match, so Sho and Fino have to pick up one of each of his decks.
Sure. And they have some pretty good options to be able to counter Warrior. You're never really going to want to do Shaman unless it's a really weird Shaman build. Mage could potentially be Quest Mage, allowing infinite fireballs and a lot of winning in that matchup. Some might say infinite, but and then Paladin is traditionally been a very strong deck against controlling warrior types because of its mid-rangey and board-concentric threats.
I feel like Paladin is definitely a good call, but if it comes to the stage where you have to outlast the warrior, I think that's where things get difficult. Paladin is great at setting up that pressure, and then just turn after turn, it's like haymaker threats, and the warrior just can't survive through it. But outlasting all of the warrior's resources, I don't feel like is really a possibility where N'Zoth is concerned.
I've played a lot of the N'Zoth warrior, actually, because back in DreamHack Atlanta, which was, I think, last month or so, that's when the deck started really getting popular, when everyone was playing the last year's standing format. I was doing some best of 5s, and Terrence M., who top 8'd in that with the N'Zoth warrior, played it against me a couple of times, and I was actually able to fatigue him with Paladin once. Wow. So it's possible. The deck is kind of weird in how that it can be fatigued, even though it's a N'Zoth deck with Dead Man's Hand, just because it has so much draw, and its removal is always a 2-for-1 against you, pretty much.
The key is keeping them under pressure so that they have to draw that many cards.
Right, you have to make them draw, but just Paladin, every card in the Paladin deck, if you look at like all 30 cards, they're just big, chunky minions, most of them. So like card for card, when you compare that up against a card like Whirlwind, Battle Rage, Shield Block, Execute, these are all cards that aren't as strong of a resource. So even if you're the warrior deck and you have 45 cards, sometimes your 45 cards lose to 30 cards just because the 30 cards are just big, well-statted things.
How does that change when it's Murloc Paladin?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Murloc Paladin
you're talking
fatiguing.
specifically about Murloc Paladin.
Yeah, specifically just mid-rangey Murloc Paladin's ability to, you know, when it's put in an awkward spot, it doesn't hit the Dream Murloc start. Because if it hits the Dream Murloc start, it just wins. There's nothing to talk about there. But when things go wrong and the deck's like underperforming, sometimes there are ways you can kind of wiggle it to actually compete in the long game against an Azoth deck.
I also want to bring up the important point that Firebat has now moved from spunky to chunky. So we have a spunky count of 2 and a chunky count of 1. A lot of unkies.
Unkies.
My unky was always nice to me.
I didn't call my uncle Unky.
Neither did I, but...
Oh, okay. I would
have anticipated you did. Let's listen to Team Liquid, see how they want to handle this early start. Look a little rough.
Yeah. That sucks, just hero power.
This is very bad here, yeah.
Reporting for duty.
This is kind of bad.
We actually didn't see any Ravaging go. They have to play it though.
I think they're playing it, yeah. I'm not 100% sure actually. But most likely they are, like they need activators for the Pieces and Execute Trade.
Yeah.
Actually they played double Whirlwind. Do you think they would play double Whirlwind and Ghoul?
If they play the War Leader, I won't be able to kill this turn. Like, the only Murloc they don't play is the War Leader, or the one which buffs.
Oh, you can kill it still with weapon.
It will be 4/4.
Ah, yeah.
But I don't really need to kill it. I'll just
pass. No, you just maybe pass.
I mean, 3 into 3 is also very interesting, obviously, right?
We need to get the weapon here.
We might.
Fix.
I mean, we can just Crazed Alchemist, start 2-1.
Is that worth it though? We save.
Not red.
Yeah, I think it's better to save the Alchemist.
Yeah, just.
Just hero power, Sham.
We can just not Sham, right? And just go hero power.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I like that more.
Yeah,
we don't have a follow-up anyway.
Yeah, we don't have a follow-up.
Reporting for duty.
This is bad, you don't want this start.
Are you sure? Maybe just Acolyte?
We'll get the 4 mana buff.
Yeah, but if it goes on 1 minion, oh, how sad are we?
If you play the Acolyte, 3, 7 cards. And withdraw 1 card.
Yeah, if you triple trades, right? But are we sad if you triple trades this? If we double trades...
Do you like playing the Acolyte?
I mean, obviously their plays right now are super awkward, so...
Then we play weapon, we play weapon.
Yeah, I think we play Acolyte, it's fine.
You do like playing the Acolyte as well?
Yes.
I must choose. Let the pain speak to me.
Whoa. This start from Team Liquid was pretty ugly. That's some pretty nice draws, though. Anything to fill up the curve at this point, I think, is good for them.
It's still really rocky. It's definitely not where you want to be as a Murloc Paladin. They've had to hero power twice in the early game, which is usually a death sentence for these kind of decks. It might be time to start trying to look at alternative game plans other than rushing down your opponent.
Yeah, I think that Crazed Alchemist is fairly good here as well.
It's good.
I don't think that they can afford to give up a lot of card draw to Virtus.pro here. You know, the nature of any deck that is trying to pressure an opponent whatsoever is that if they draw cards, that means they find answers.
Right. And
but
answers are...
aplenty right now.
Yeah. Not something you want to see. If they could just So their game plan isn't really to rush down anymore. It's more to, and it's not really to outvalue the entire deck of Virtus.pro. It's more or less to force them to have to give up card draw and then outvalue their hand. So get in a position where they're able to stick a threat because Virtus.pro runs out of removal and then push that threat for repetitive damage.
Yeah, you're hoping they draw the Whirlwinds, they draw the N'Zoth, they draw a lot of situational cards that are catalysts to other things, and that they can't quite use them because you've been forcing that pressure.
And then you just punch them with whatever you've been able to stick until they die.
I would... Crazed Alchemist is a 2/2. I want you to think about how tough that is. Like, Timberwolf is a 1/1. There is no way I'm beating a Timberwolf in real life.
Well, you could beat a Wisp, probably. And that's the same stats.
I don't think I could beat it. It's a 1/1.
Yeah, but it's like a little energy
It's the
ball.
same as a Timberwolf.
You could just kick it.
I don't think you could.
It's a ball.
I think I have maybe half of a power. I think I'm like a half-half.
There's no fractions in this game.
But I'm saying that's
Like
why
half and half
that's
milk?
why I'm not a card.
Oh, the admirable card?
Yeah.
I'm
like,
a 2/1.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
I
you're
got
pretty tough. You could take a Crazed Alchemist. Now, he'd get you 2.
Right, yeah.
But you might take out one of his friends along the way as well.
Oh, yeah, I'll explode and backlash his friend. With whatever venom that comes out of me.
Spinja, it seems like it's making things a bit tough for Virtus.pro. Hard to play minions into this. That means damage.
Yeah, they don't really want to be able to activate the Finja, and they don't need to. They're the control deck, so they can play their minions later, so all they have to do is just kind of pass, let the Finja sit there so it cannot be activated. But let's hear what Team Liquid has to say about this passing.
Just play that and Repentance.
We attack with the Finja, you think, or no?
I don't think so, because then they can clear it. Because it doesn't die to fish, right? Right now.
Yeah.
It's only 3 damage.
So what could they do? They could just Shield Slam.
Yeah.
If we attack, they can't Shield Slam. I mean, they can actually. They can just armor up and then do the Whirlwind effect.
Let me think.
Yeah, I think it's Repent as Scalebrain.
Hope it hits the Finja here.
Let's move quickly.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's not a Dirty Rat, right?
Yeah, I like playing Dirty Red, yes.
Dirty Rat first, and then I attack
Yes.
into face and see what happens. Okay. So attack face, Whirlwind, and sleep with the fishes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah,
Right.
Lone remaining Whirlwind will be Scourge Lord Garrosh at this point, but clear skies for Virtus.pro, and I think they're looking pretty good in this match.
Yeah, it's seeming like Virtus.pro is going to be able to take it. Liquid was not able to get too much value out of their cards and not able to get too much damage out of their cards either. So they really haven't done much. They have Consecrate in their deck, a tech choice that's not really strong for this matchup. And
we saw Misfits use that card to great effect in week number 1. They had the lone copy of Consecration teched into their Murloc Paladin, and it was the saving grace in a rogue matchup. But here, Team Liquid is struggling to find any significant pressure.
Right, which it's going to make it very difficult to win. The upside for them, the Warrior deck is extremely slow, and their hero power is better. Well, now it trades evenly, but it was better at potentially winning in fatigue. Now it's unfortunately not so good. One of the things I think Liquid needs to do and realize is they're not winning this through complete aggression anymore. They need to save their Sunkeeper Term to be utilized defensively and try and find a different win condition.
A lot of 1-cost cards, some 2-cost cards left in Team Liquid's deck, though.
There's also some maybe Stonehill defenders. We see a Cold Light Seer
They didn't
there.
hit Megasaur. I mean, it's really tough for Team Liquid to not play Sunkeeper Tarim here.
Why do they need to play anything?
They just feel like they need to get pressure rolling.
The biggest thing, the biggest problem I have when watching a lot of these games is, why do we need to do anything? Why is it always just a need that we have to play cards constantly?
You created that play style. I want to really get that.
You don't always have to play all your cards.
I'm just saying that's how you won Worlds.
Yeah,
you just played all your stuff in a row.
Sometimes
there
the meta
was one
calls...
turn you didn't play stuff, and it was against Priest in the finals. That was it.
And that not playing won me the game.
That's true. I'm not going to disagree that you are potentially a master. What about this? They took it slow.
This is not as slow as you could have taken it. What's the point of playing this? It dies to the weapon for free. It's one of the ways they could have gotten back in this game is maybe trying to set up like
a big Cold Light Seer.
Well, I was going to say a gentle Megasaur, but...
Well, the Cold Light Seer into Megasaur, of
sure.
course.
Yeah, just a bunch of Murloc synergies happening all at once because your opponent's not pressuring you.
Tough to say. I think they're in a rough spot.
Yeah, either way you slice it, I'm not going to say there's a line that they take and they win every time. It's just like maybe a better chance. But let's hear their thoughts on constructing what game plan they're going for.
Do we ever want to save War Leader? How do we win this game?
I have no idea. We need to draw like Curator. And then
Curator.
like... And even then it's kind of hard, I think. Like they've taken such a good control of the game. They still have like 2 charges in the weapon too.
Yeah, we should just scout for information at this point.
Yeah.
We kind of know.
Reporting for duty.
I want to see how many brawls they play. But
Yeah,
we'll
we saw
never
one.
be able to see that.
I want to get rid of cards from my hand, so I want to play the Deadman's hand.
Yeah, couldn't you slam now?
No, I don't want to slam for cards.
Why don't you play Armor Smith and then you play Deadman's Hand? Because slam is always a good draw, right? It always cycles a card. So you could play Armor Smith and then Deadman's Hand. And Battle Rage is also always good. The Blood Razor is bad, but we can never play it.
I don't want to draw. Not just hero power and then...
Why don't we just attack maybe?
Why don't you want to draw? Can't you just slam and then hero power?
Yeah, I'm pretty scared about it.
Oh, fatigue.
Yeah.
I must choose.
So I just want a hero power and now actually I can just use the weapon, yeah. Like this, like 5 cards is enough.
We just need to go Tarim here, right?
Yeah, just go in. Just go in. Tarim, like... I don't even see anything. The placement? Yeah, Tarim far left and the Protector far right. Right?
Yeah.
The light dims, but we fight.
You know, I loved the discussion that Team Liquid had right when they drew the Murloc War Leader. Should we save this Murloc War Leader? How do we win this game? But I think that's the kind of discussion they should have been having turns earlier.
Right. I agree with you. I mean, I've been saying it. It's like, well, the first push didn't work. And we knew that after the mulligan. So then it was like, well, how do we win from that position knowing that our initial push isn't going to work? And they didn't really start talking about it until turn 9. And it's falling apart now.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big vital reason, I think, that you need all your teammates here, too. I mean, Dog has been playing a lot of these endgame decks, and Fatigue Warrior especially is one that he's played a lot. Now, N'Zoth Warrior isn't specifically Fatigue Warrior, but it's fairly similar in a lot of approaches. Having that extra, mind to think about how you approach these situations could have been very valuable.
Mm-hmm. For sure. It's definitely usually the role of the third guy is usually the weird plays and weird stuff guy.
Yeah.
The first two are kind of debating the standard lines of play, and then the third guy can't really chime in too much on the standard lines of play because the first two got that figured out.
Yeah. Third guy knows a lot about the game, though. He's intentionally trying to find weird stuff.
Right. He's just trying to intentionally find, unique ways to play the game, unique interactions that present themselves. You know, it plays with a lot of spunk. So he tries to narrow those down, and missing Dog is kind of hurting them in that department.
That's an assault for you. 9 power, 10 health. Let's go.
Hold the phone. That is the last remaining threat in Virtus.pro's hand. And if we look at the cards they Deadman's hand, they add Whirlwind, Battle Rage, Slam, Blood Razor, and a couple other garbage cards into their deck. The N'Zoth, yeah, one of the cards was good.
Well, they still have the Direhorn hatchlings yet to draw.
But I'm saying they have a lot of draw steps that are going to be cluttered with garbage. Now, if you look at maybe if Team Liquid had managed their resources in a different way, had the N'Zoth for this board instead of using it to kill an armor, or not the N'Zoth, the Tarim for this board instead of using it to kill an armor smith, how different would things be?
I think all that tied into many previous turns. Lot of steps.
Lots of previous turns, lots of saving resources and budgeting for this. Let's hear what VP has to say as they're approached by this curator.
I think you're too afraid of Divine Flavor.
Yes, because I don't like Divine Flavor.
Yeah, it looks good. I agree. So Conk.
Yeah, Conk, double ones, adopt. Well, only 45 more to go, Shaw.
We got this.
Yeah, we got this.
The plebs aren't even good, man.
No. The plebs are bad, actually.
Yeah, you can just, if you slam the Megasaur, you hear power.
I want to do it as well.
Sure, but I would do it probably
after one Whirlwind.
After, yeah.
Do you need to use slam?
Did you have? Or you want to hero power?
I wanna just hero power and Blood Razor and clear the board, honestly.
I'm trying to consider now. I don't think we can get like any useful information from this point.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, and it's just a waste of time. Both get tired for no reason.
The victory is yours.
We will never see a brawl, I think.
And the first counter matchup that fails in this set so far, and suddenly Virtus.pro takes the lead at 4-3. Last hero standing, the deck that wins stays up. The deck that loses is out of contention, and with that 4-3 lead now, they're closing in on that 6-win mark to take this set.
Yeah, it's super important to be able to, you know, stop one of the counter cues, and this is kind of the difference in the lineups as well. We saw Team Liquid self-bans their Warrior, whereas Virtus.pro kept their Warrior up, and that's the deck that's able to turn the tides for them. Liquid didn't seem to have the greatest of answers to this Warrior. Their Murloc Paladin is typically a deck that is favored against Control Warrior archetypes, but the variation of Murloc Paladin they had was the Grimscale Chum variant, which is better against more aggressive decks rather than being better against the control decks. It doesn't have as much late game and instead has additional 1-drops. It also had the Tech of the Crazed Alchemist, which isn't particularly strong against Warrior. So I have to imagine they didn't expect this N'Zoth Warrior at all.
Which is somewhat surprising to me. Virtus.pro is really known as a team that brings a lot of control decks. So you take a look at their last week, they brought N'Zoth Paladin. I'm sorry, they brought a Control Paladin list. They brought a Control Warrior. I mean, they have throughout Trinity series and just throughout their careers traditionally been more control players. I think maybe they missed a bit of a read here.
Yeah, a little bit of a misread for sure. They were kind of expecting more, I would guess I would say, like Pirates from the Warrior with the way that the classes kind of line up. But just the wild card thing, as we get down to less and less options to counter queue, that was their best option to tackle this N'Zoth Warrior. And it wasn't particularly strong against it, as it wasn't able to defeat it. Even though they had a poor draw, it just didn't have tech that was positioned well in that kind of matchup. Now they have to go with their second best option.
Right, and Paladin last week was putting on quite a performance. Oftentimes we saw that deck pick up 3 wins, and I believe in week 1 of Trinity Series, it went a total of like 11-3, and 2 of its losses were to a mirror match.
Wow.
Yeah, so effectively like a 9-1 record versus other classes that Paladin went. I think it was 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Maybe it was 14-3. It was something ridiculous. Like Paladin just absolutely went bonkers last week.
I definitely think Paladin is one of the stronger decks in the format. When you open it up to a 9-class format, the Murloc Paladin archetype just has tons of favorables across the board. The Control Paladin archetype has a lot of favorables, especially since Burn Mage is going to be so heavily represented in the meta. And even Hand Buff Paladin actually has a lot of viability. Interestingly enough, I've played a lot of best of 5s against other streamers, and we invite Kibler sometimes to play some like 8-man tournaments with us. And he brought Hand Buff Paladin multiple times and was able to win 2 8-mans with mostly players that are qualified for the World Championship. So, you know, Paladin's got a lot of versatility out there.
It definitely is a strong deck, I think, any way you slice it. I actually remember playing you in a best 5 with a Hand Buff Paladin as well. That one didn't go so well, but it's because I didn't draw my Mindbreaker tech for the Priest matchup.
Yeah,
so.
You gotta get that Mindbreaker in there.
And Uther's bottom too, but it's another story.
So now to combat the Control Warrior archetype, they are bringing out the Evolve Shaman. Typically speaking, Control Warrior is utilized as a counter to Evolve Shaman decks.
Well, Sea Giant, I think, is a big difference here. Oftentimes when Warriors fighting against Shaman, they anticipate just clearing the board down, executing thing from below, everything's fine.
Right.
The addition of Sea Giant is a really interesting tech choice. In the mirror matchups, this card can get absolutely out of control, coming down way earlier than players anticipate. The other thing, too, is against control decks, it services as another high-value threat. And that's something that they need to put pressure on from Virtus.pro. They're not going to win this game in the long term. They're not going to fatigue out Virtus.pro in any weird circumstances. They need one big break and then one big hit.
Never say never when it comes to fatiguing people out and winning in weird ways. Because I remember...
Firebat loves fatigue right now.
I love winning in weird ways. In the Hearthstone Global Games, Team USA, which I was representing at the time, we played against Taiwan in the top 8, and we had this exact matchup happening. We also had 2 Sea Giants, so we had extra threats in there. So it's very similar to what's going on here. They weren't N'Zoth, however. They were just regular Control Warrior, and we had a bad opening hand, and we won in fatigue.
Well, that's the kicker here is the N'Zoth.
The N'Zoth is the kick. It makes it N'Zoth and Dead Man's Hand.
Yeah,
they got a little more gas.
Big deal. They can bring back all their death throw maybe twice.
And 15 more cards, you know.
It's 36 more armor. Big deal.
No problem. And all the Direhorn hatchlings. But...
yeah, just like 4 more 6/9s to taunts to deal with. You have 2 devolves.
They had 2 Primordial Drakes, though.
Ooh.
And when we were playing against Taiwan in this match. And we fatigued them because our opening hand was trash. We just pressed a totem every turn.
It used to be one of the best ways to fight Warrior, was eventually totems forced weapon swings into totems, and they're very valuable.
Eventually, they have to let the totems live, and both Bloodlusts connect for 21. And that's a lot of value.
It's a lot. This matchup, again, though, they don't have the Liberty. They're looking for an opportunity to land Sea Giant and really make that big push.
They have a great hand to be able to do it, so... yeah, they're definitely... first priority is, all right, does my normal deck plan work? And then second priority is, all right, can we salvage this?
Does Sea Giant work?
Yeah, can we salvage this into some other form of way to win?
Salvage. That's a new word I've never heard before. Virtus.pro on deck. Let's hear what they're thinking about their game.
They will right, but as long as we find plays, it's fine. If they Jade Lightning, we just equip the weapon and chill, right?
Yeah.
We don't need to load the second whirlwind effect.
You can next turn you can after weapon use red before turn 6.
But we can use it for turn 7 if they play that Ingast Revolve. We can bit red and roll. I will clear the board right now for the Death Knight. So yeah, that's sure that I will use the weapon.
Armor space or no? We can just play like Thing from below, like...
Yeah, that's true. Thing is better.
We can't think.
I mean, if we hero power and flame tongue, we can set up Sea Giant if they have a weak turn. I think that might be better.
Okay, hero power, flame tongue, and how do we trade?
Always little time.
We ignore it if we get healing, right?
50 on totem.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter.
now they playing around the weapon.
Weapon attack.
Yeah, weapon attack, right?
Yeah, you have to kill flame tongues for sure.
They didn't have jet lighting in 6 cards. This is probably
The guard. So he can, like, if we play Think, he can just attack Sleep, and then we basically are in a really bad spot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we should just hero power and thing, right? And not play Flame Tongue. It's too much commitment. And we can get healing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, hero power Thing.
Yeah.
Far right.
Yeah. Or left. Yeah.
Damn, we didn't get any of the important cards in this matchup, like Doku Evolve, Throw, stuff like that.
Couple Dirty Rats teched in here to fight the Quest Mage matchup more efficiently. Not horrible versus Shaman, but Sea Giant makes it a lot worse.
Right, and they don't know about the Sea Giant, so the surprise factor could be the undoing for Virtus.pro. Normally, when your opponent holds one card back as the Shaman, it's usually pretty easy to narrow it down to either, oh my, that was close.
That is such a good pull for Virtus.pro as well.
Yeah.
You see Vino shake his head when the Flame Tongue comes down.
Even if the Sea Giant had come out, they have the Brawl next turn, but it would have been a lot worse, obviously.
I mean, what if they Dirty Rat
Virtus.pro.
again?
I don't mind it. It's not
Well,
the worst.
they're gonna get a very rude awakening if they Dirty Rat again.
Well, they have the Brawl next turn is the thing. So they have a safeguard on it.
Oh, this is a lot of damage. That's a devolve sitting in Team Liquid's hand.
Right. What Virtus.pro's trying to do there is, because it's approaching, turn 6 for Team Liquid, they want to try and eliminate the Doppelgangster, so that then no Doppelgangster evolve can happen after they utilize their one board clear. Because they don't have Brawl and Sleep with the Fishes, they just have Brawl. So they can only clear this board once, and they have to hope that that's good enough, and there's no Doppelgangster evolve after.
Well, the damage here is 18, and they're at 33, so there is still some breathing room. But heaven forbid if that thing from below or that Sea Giant wins this Brawl, this could be very bad for Virtus.pro. Hey, look who's making an appearance here.
The Leper Gnome. The Leper
Gnome. Who goes there?
Oh. Yeah, the Pirate's not as cool.
No, you just had bad memories of him.
I didn't really favor that metagame
Look,
too much.
I'm gonna be honest. In hindsight, I didn't like the balance way it was done, but my favorite 2 cards in the set were Patches and Small Time Buccaneer.
Why is that?
They're just pirates. I just like pirates.
Oh, okay.
Just like hitting them.
I like Leper Gnome, man. Me and Leper Gnome go way back. And then there was always fun casting with Gnimsh, and he'd always make Leper Gnimsh jokes.
He made a lot of Leper Gnimsh jokes.
He did, yeah. None of them were good. But it was still great.
I knew you'd get a shot at that at some point. 17 crashes across. Brawl on deck for Virtus.pro. Sleep with the Fishes picked up.
Now they have multiple board clears.
Let's listen to Virtus.pro. Critical turn here for their swing.
Easy peasy.
Nyman, please.
They wanna coin out hero power, not
No. We haven't lost that hand. We get the Leper Gnome back from Enzoth. Pretty bog-jam.
No, yeah.
Just Barnes Monotide? What can we get that's good from Barnes? We can get another Monotide. We can get Aya. And that's basically it. Maybe we can even hold the Barnes for an evolve.
Yeah, what about just Portal or Hero Power, Portal and Manatide?
I think I like that more.
Yeah, and we might get evolve.
Yeah. This first, and then this, and then this. I think this is fine. That's not so good.
Yeah, we need taunt.
Yeah, taunt is good. Yeah, that's also not great.
Yeah, but is it worth it?
It is not. No way. You just play taunt in hero power, no? They have to play something, and you next turn clear board.
Okay.
It's looking rough.
Well, the Doppelgangster is a glimmer of hope for Team Liquid. They can start assembling the Doppelgangster Evolve combo. There is going to be most likely a board clear necessary from Virtus.pro to clean up the Mana Tide plus whatever else they play.
Yeah, that's actually something I want to talk about, because I feel for Team Liquid, they should really be reluctant to develop as long as they have this Mana Tide to play.
The Mana Tide is a board. Like, it'll bait a board clear if it is left unchecked for a few more turns. I would like to see them utilize the Jade Lightning and their minion in play and just totem. No need to commit the Barnes, because a board clear is going to happen. You see that there's no single target removal for the Mana Tide, which means there's no slam in your opponent's hand, which means they're going to have to brawl or fishes away this Mana Tide or execute it. And you're happy with that.
Looks like Team Liquid recognizes that as well. I like to play.
There's just playing the Fireflies potentially could set up lethal. If that's the case, then there's some consideration to play them. If it doesn't, there's no reason. 18, 19, 20, 21, it's never going to be lethal, so you don't play the Fireflies.
Yeah, they would need perfect draws and absolutely nothing to touch the board at that point. They would need to draw Bloodlust plus damage.
Now, the interesting thing here is, if you can get to a point as the warrior player where you have enough armor to live through the Bloodlust after they develop the board fully, then it doesn't matter how many cards they have, because you can just board clear it afterwards. But let's see what Virtus.pro's game plan is here.
So shield block now.
You might actually execute the Mana Titan, just armor up.
Yeah, I like it.
Ah, okay, so I'm saving the Whirlwind. Yeah.
Yeah, you're saving Whirlwind Fishes pretty much. We have more Whirlwind effects, but we played...
Why is it shield slam? Why is it executed, not shield slam?
Because we have shield block in hand.
Ah, okay. That's true.
So like next turn, if you, let's say he plays the second thing from below, if he plays that, we would really like to shield block shield slam instead of actually using more resources. Next turn? But we only get one taunt only back, right?
Outcome Mana Tide?
Yeah, Mana Tide.
We don't evolve that, right?
No, we want it for taunt evolve.
Okay, just hero power?
Yeah.
Anything else? No, right?
Firefly, right?
Okay.
We can commit now a little bit.
Just one Firefly, or you wanna play both? Maybe we wanna play both in case we draw Bloodlust.
Yeah, I think we wanna play both.
And he just draws.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, if we draw Bloodlust here, he just coin and Zots. We're not in a bad spot. He already played. Damn.
Probably shield block. Yeah, Battle Rage. Shield slam, Iron Smith, hero power trade.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
But we don't have the activator for Clip with the fishes.
Yeah, but you have 2 more in your deck, right?
Yeah.
Plus DK.
Okay, so you like shield slam? Why not execute?
Shield slam, shield block, and Iron Smith.
Slam, shield block, and Iron Smith?
How about execute hero power Armor Smith?
Honestly, I like it more, way more. Because execute, we might not use it. We don't have the activator, and we have shield block. We have army speed, and we have shield slams for.
Actually, if they doppelgangster evolve now, you can even like shield block, and then in principle, there should be every target should be clearable, unless they go DK plus doppelgangster, and then we kind of have to take care that we don't get overrun there.
Oh. I think we need to save the devolve for taunt.
Yeah. Just
so
play
mana
mana
tide
time
as final. Yeah, face.
So I start with the attacking acolyte.
Yeah, attack first.
No, that's... The Death Knight is really good. So a Death Knight and Hero Power.
I'm pretty sure you play the Death Knight. And then,
I will burn this world and rule its ashes.
Minions anyway. Just go all in.
Yeah. So we need to think about positioning though. So the small boys on the far, on the sides. So Primal Fin and the Hero Power in. So first Doppelgangster, right? And then Hero Power and Primal Fin on the left.
Why? You don't want it in the middle for Direwolf? Like what can you get that's bad if we do it in the middle? Oh, you mean to like block? No, but that's... Oh, you mean block the Garrus attack, right?
Yeah, so they take more damage.
Should we put to the right then or no? No.
I think to the left, right? Far left. So you're gonna hit the small guy, right? They wanna hit the small guy. What is that? Yeah.
Despite the Doppelgangster evolve, it is still looking rough.
Yeah, it's not looking easy.
That was big movement from Virtus.pro in these last couple turns, and it is about to get bigger.
The Death Knight just really shining in this matchup, able to activate all of the warrior cards as well as just clean up shaman boards on its own. Whew. More AoE.
It's kind of just what this deck is.
Well, they should shield slam the 4/5, allowing them to kill 3 minions.
What is going on here?
Yeah. You can get the full clear on the board. You swing then at the 5/4. Trade with the Armor Smith, so full clear.
Uh-oh. Ah, there we go.
It's figuring it out.
They're piecing it together.
Maybe getting a little bit tired after playing so many games.
That Hero Power is so good from the Death Knight. Sets up the weapons so nicely. And Team Liquid's resources have been squashed into nothing.
Yeah, I can't really see a way that they come out on top of this one. They have been completely exhausted of resources. And there's no hope for ever winning in Fatigue from this spot. As much as I like to say there's always some weird way you can win.
I just look at that hand from Virtus.pro. Nothing is getting through.
Well, that is a 5-drop in play. If you could devolve it into a Screeching Banshee, I think it's called, that whenever they play a card, then they discard 3 cards from their deck.
Oh, they just attack you.
A Keening Banshee.
They just attack every turn.
Well, then you just roll Taunt Totem repeatedly. If you do it enough times, you will win eventually.
They have a weapon ready.
Well, yeah, they swing the weapon through the taunt, but you just keep stopping the Keening Banshee forever.
They eventually can play a card. It's not they can also just hero power 3 times and eventually kill their own King Banshee.
They would just shield slam their own King Banshee and then kill you, yeah. So that's not it.
It's donezo.
It's over, yeah.
I mean, that's the nature of the control versus an aggressor matchup. Is once you have stabilized the board, it is the aggro deck scrapping to ever get any ounce of life back into the board presence. And if you haven't forced a ton of removal, you're just beat. It's a great game from Virtus.pro and just a strong looking deck. Let's hear Virtus.pro as this game starts closing in.
On a shuffle, do it on a shield block, not. To shuffle.
As long as you don't shuffle the coin, yes.
Why not?
Shuffling coin. You need 11 mana? 12 mana?
12 mana.
Maybe we play it now, because we take 7. This kind of like tanks damage, let's say. We need double throw anyway, right? That's like the only way.
Yeah, we need 2 turns to draw it though.
Yeah, that's why I want to play Aya, to just like tank damage.
Alright, sure.
Play it here, right?
Yeah.
Golems are a girl's best friend.
Where is it? Come on.
Just don't overdraw it.
Of obliteration.
He's still helping me out of the place.
Alright, go for the Doomsayers.
Okay.
Easy Doomsayer. Oh.
I just need to draw throw.
There's a chance.
Nah, that's just a draw. No, that's just a draw thing, we lose anyway. But yeah, there's nothing.
Whoa. That was close. Virtus.pro is getting a little bit overconfident with their position in the game, I would say. And they really played heavily into a devolve, which gave Team Liquid the potential to almost completely negate the value of Virtus.pro's N'Zoth. Fortunate enough for Virtus.pro, they did roll a death rattle off the devolve, so their N'Zoth will be able to bring back a couple of minions.
I'm going to be honest, if I'm Virtus.pro there, I think I just shuffle in the coin.
Right, for the extra card to be winning in Fatigue more. I wouldn't mind it. They just want to try and play 2 N'Zoths really fast. So what are they bringing back exactly from N'Zoth, since we've had a few devolves and stuff?
Tortolin is coming back for sure.
And Leopardome.
Leopardome's coming back for sure. Oh, that's actually...
It's not a bad one. It's something.
Well, that's really important to note in this weird race that's been going on.
Right.
Is that the Leopardome is just extra reach.
Right.
So in a Fatigue War, Team Liquid just doesn't win that. Because
and you
the Leopardome
you get 2 Leopardomes. You get 3 Leopardomes. So you get 6 additional Leopardome damage.
Yeah. Oh, okay, it's over.
Yeah. So with that and the weapon swings remaining in the deck, Virtus.pro has lethal just over the top. But you can see how...
Tortolin and Leopard... This is like an arena deck all of a sudden. With a really good pill.
That's what I'm telling you, man. If you play these games and realize when you've lost the board and look for the avenues of where you can sneak in ways to fatigue them, use the devolves and the Direhorn Hatchlings, it gets kind of close. There's 7 cards remaining for the Shaman and 8 cards remaining for the Warrior. Like, players get overconfident in these positions, I would say, and sometimes allow the aggro decks to wiggle their way back in.
How many Karens does it take to get through this one?
It's going to take a few. It's not easy. I'm just saying it's...
Here we go. Oh, Illidan.
Illidan's pretty good, but
he's going to die really quick.
Yeah. Well.
And so is Team Liquid.
Right.
Virtus.pro takes their 3rd straight game with Warrior and are now in a 5-3 lead over Team Liquid. First team to 6 wins takes this set. And Team Liquid's going to be down to their last deck. Last year standing, you lose the deck, it's gone. You win with the deck, it stays on board. This Warrior deck is doing work.
Yeah, it looks like it was the X factor, something that Team Liquid really didn't anticipate for. They had none of their decks that was a clean counter to it. They had the Paladin, which was kind of a soft counter to it, teched not correctly for that matchup, but teched for other matchups. And then they had to resort to the Shaman and try and get lucky, a deck that is normally hard countered by Warrior. And most likely that's because they wanted to preserve their Mage for something else remaining in the lineup.
Yep.
So now they have to resort to the Mage, which they already deemed is unfavorable for them.
Yeah, well, Team Liquid is on their last leg, but we have to take a brief intermission before we get into the conclusion of this match. So don't go anywhere, guys. More Trinity series and the conclusion of this match right after this.
Who's that pro?
The taunt is protecting the trade on the totem golem. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, okay, Bolt, right.
deck of cards.
It's show!
The taunt is protecting the trade on the totem golem. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, okay, Bolt, right.
Welcome back to Trinity Series Season 2 at the Intel Studios here in Burbank, California. Of course, sponsored by Intel, Twitch, and ESL. Putting on this fantastic team league for us so that we can watch these guys do battle and have a lot of fun while we're at it. I'm Nathan, that's Admiral Zamora, joined by 2014 World Champion James Fireback Kostasich, and this match has just been a slugfest, but now it seems that Virtus.pro has turned the corner. 3 straight Warrior games.
Right, yeah. That Warrior deck seemed to be something that Team Liquid was not prepared for. The counter deck they had lined up for it wasn't able to get the win and didn't have tech choices that were particularly strong against N'Zoth Control Warrior. So it kind of took Team Liquid off guard and has just been tearing a hole in the lineup, leaving them only with the Mage left to try and take down all of the remaining classes for Virtus.pro.
Yeah, some unique moments happening in this match as well. Start things off, Dog was unable to make the match here for Team Liquid, so Sho and Fino had to pick up the 2 decks that he would have normally been piloting. And for Virtus.pro, Bunny Hopper's been at the airport, so he's been unable to play and communicate due to the lone device that he has. So he's been available to communicate, but they had to pick up his decks to pilot as well. So a little bit of a twist in this one, but now it is match point for Virtus.pro. Team Liquid has to win 3 straight games with Mage if they're going to take this set.
Yeah, which is never easy, but Mage is one of the classes that I'd say has the highest ability to do something like this. With cards like Primordial Glyph allowing it to get kind of lucky and wiggle its way out of tough situations in bad matchups, as well as just other aspects of the Mage class that can allow it to unexpectedly win.
Yeah, definitely some good potential there. I think Mage has a lot of game across the board, but the fact that they didn't queue up this Mage deck instantly into the Warrior brings me a little bit of fear for Team Liquid. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but whatever it is going to have to bring some heat because this deck has been tearing it apart. Don't think it's Quest Mage. I think Quest Mage would have seen Rapid Fire.
It could potentially still be a Mage deck that's favored versus the Warrior. They just felt like they wanted to try and save it, and because of other reasons with the classes remaining.
Looks like a Freeze Mage to me.
Freeze or Burn Mage, but yeah, they're pretty much the same sort of thing. They can really struggle against the armor gain potential of the N'Zoth Warrior with 2 Armor Smiths, as well as Whirlwind effects for those Armor Smiths, 2 Shield blocks, and 2 Mountain Fire armors that can be brought back to life with N'Zoth. So the Mage, oftentimes, if they're going to win this game, they need to figure out a way to get rid of the Mountain Fire armors without killing them. Polymorph is a great way to do so, transforming it into something else. And they have to worry about generally fatiguing. Like right from the beginning, they have to try and fatigue the Warrior because you're not going to burn through with damage all of that armor. You have to win the value game. So your cards need to be more efficient against their cards than their cards are against you.
Another option for the Mountain Fire armor, I think, is to simply try to race it.
Okay.
There is the potential that Virtus.pro just doesn't draw their armor cards.
Sure.
And you get to an endgame scenario where you land an Alexstrasza and you got a few turns of burn to follow it up. I mean, that's a possibility. Mountain Fire armor clocks that a lot and shuts off your potential to Blizzard sometimes, but this extra 6 armor that Mountain Fire gives is a really big deal. It's something that I'm not sure Team Liquid can really afford to kill.
You can beat like 1 shield block. You can maybe even beat 2 shield blocks. But beating 2 shield blocks and a Mountain Fire armor is probably too much armor to be able to take down. But let's try and tune into Team Liquid and see what their game plan is.
The ping, actually. Maybe like the ping could be relevant to like decrease the armor. Like, what are we looking for with the glyph? Right?
Not anything right now. But
I think we will have time to glyph, so I think I'd rather just ping here.
Yeah, okay.
The 1 damage could really matter.
No Whirlwind effect. Because if we start drawing Whirlwind effects, we're gonna have a problem.
But they kept 2 cards, it's not Arcanologist and it's not the Manor.
Can
So
be,
it should be fun.
can be Freeze Mage.
No. Get around, it's kind of bad.
That guy is gonna smack us every turn.
Yeah. Just AI, I guess.
I wonder.
Right?
Yeah.
We need to find Alex like very fast, basically. That's like the only way we can win. Oh, we can like find Polymorph from Glyph, I guess.
Yeah, true.
Another one.
Yeah.
I like another 3-drop.
Of obliteration. Job done.
Yeah, resources are pretty bad right now.
Yeah, but if they don't clear this one, I'm gonna drop the Ender Threat.
Ooh, drop the Dirty Rat, force a Doomsayer out, so the Mountain Fires blow up. That's really smart.
Is it though? Do you want them to blow up just yet?
What to do?
Well, you could catch something valuable as well.
Okay.
You know, again, we talked about the card draw mechanism, and Team Liquid clearly off to the races. They feel they're under pressure, and once again, they're going to draw and try to find the right moment to just simply open up Virtus.pro and kill them. That's really their game plan. So they are aggressively looking for Alexstrasza, and they want to kill before that armor hits. And when Virtus.pro sees them use Arcane Intellect, I think that they can read into that game plan. They're not going to try to wait.
It does seem to be the approach that Team Liquid is going for right now. They may change that approach around as they start realizing that the race against these Mountain Fire armors might be a difficult one to win. There are 4 minions in Virtus.pro's deck that really offer any pressure, and that's the 2 Mountain Fires and the 2 Direhorn Hatchlings. Everything else
It's uncivilized.
Doesn't really offer pressure. Like Acolyte of Pain and Dirty Rat are not great pressure minions. So Virtus.pro drawing 3 of the 4 Death Rattles already is absolutely insane.
I'm not sure they dropped the Hatchling in this spot, though.
Why? You're just afraid of like Nova Doom and then you lose all your minion pressure?
It's part of it, but I think Nova Doom is really a benefit for Virtus.pro. Like, they seeing a Nova out of it, I just like this. Like, gaining 12 armor is almost unbeatable for Team Liquid. Like, how do they beat that?
Well, they want the minions alive. Then force your opponent to have to use cards to spend on the minions.
That's
then
weird
bring
to
them
me.
back.
Why would you play the Dirty Rat then?
Well, because they're trying to get a high impact minion like Archmage Antonidas, something like that.
That's weird. I mean, suddenly I'm lost. But there's so many different ways to think about this matchup, and that's really kind of what I'm trying to illustrate. Is that every single approach will require you to take a very different line than the other ones you see. They all share similarities, but they have very different arriving points at the end. They're all where you want to be. They're very different places.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you have to try and choose if you're going to be the aggressor or if you're going to try and play a value game, which are 100% 180s. And Liquid's choices here are not good for any of those. Ice Block's going to be quite useless because you're going to go through your entire deck. Vaporize, you're going to kill a 2/6.
Yeah.
Forbidden Flame, I think, has the highest, amount of value as a standalone card. So I think it would be the selection. It also works better with Archmage Antonidas if that happens to be in their deck. Oh, they took Vaporize, but now coming to VP's turn. Let's hear what they have to say about that glyph.
I want to play the Acolyte into Blizzard. Maybe Acolyte.
You slam the Acolyte for sure.
Let the pain speak to me.
So yes, Blizzard.
Yeah, I think it's just Blizzard here.
We can actually kill the rat next turn with Valet and then play Vaporize.
Yeah, that's probably the play.
And Taunt and Hero Power.
Probably. Yeah.
Probably, yeah. I think you play all the way to the left, by the way.
To the right. He plays around.
Because this way he could play Ping and Meteor, which would be quite good for him.
No.
Aren't they just gonna
like
pass them?
You mean they're not gonna attack with the 4/1s? I think they are.
Exactly.
I think they are.
They are.
What to do?
I mean,
If
I
you
think
cross
so.
both the 3/6.
We can just go like Vaporize, Valet, Ping. No, Valet, Frostbolt.
Alright, sure.
What do we Valet though? Double Valet, 3/6, and yeah,
And
and
Frostbolt
Frostbolt
it.
are out.
Excuse me, you are on fire.
Runs out on
You are on fire.
Yeah, once you get cards out of hand. I mean, it feels bad, but that's like the only way I win. We feel.
We have to stand the damage, I think.
Yeah.
Rage.
I mean, do you just shield block first, just to make sure that it is not counterspell?
Three guys, 3/6. Yeah, I like Battle Rage.
I think Battle Rage is good.
I can play the Rat, but I want. Yeah.
I think that's
Playing the Rat is good.
I think it's a good idea. What do you think?
Yeah, you can play it.
Be the. No Taunts, yeah.
Incredible discovery.
Not Mirror Entity.
Think a double trade. No?
No, why would you trade?
I like trading ones.
No, not trade.
Armor, you.
You have a weapon. Oh, suspicious.
Yeah, with suspicious, true.
Never trade, you want to get the armor.
Oh, Archmage is in the deck.
Yeah, that's going to be very powerful. And that Vaporize pick there from Team Liquid was super impactful there, allowing them to activate the Medivh's Valet, and it killed the Mountain Fire armor on Virtus.pro's turn, so it didn't yield them the 6 armor.
Yeah, it looks like their plan is to chip away with minions here to get Virtus.pro in range, and then have a lot of burn to follow up. Having the Archmage, I think, is a big catalyst to that game plan. Without Archmage Intonitis, I do not see this being ever a win for Team Liquid from here.
It's still going to be tough. There's only 13 cards left for Virtus.pro, and they have 2 Armor Smiths remaining, as well as another shield block. So
Dead Man's Hand.
And well, the Dead Man's Hand doesn't help him unless it connects with the armor stuff. They have the N'Zoth, though, to try and bring back the Mountain Fires. But yeah, they've definitely found a way to try and make this burn plan work.
Time runs out on me.
Using Glyph without the Archmage just seems a little odd.
Put it to that 0-cost Glyph.
What?
Oh, they're buying the damage back with the minions here.
The minions connect for the 6. That makes sense. Perfect. I was confused at first as I saw a fireball going at the minion.
I don't think that Team Liquid can't afford to trade. In fact, I like the way they've been playing this game, where they're simply ignoring the Mountain Fire armor and trying to put on some sort of race in the face of it. Virtus.pro cannot use Blood Razor. They cannot use Whirlwind. They cannot use Sleep with the Fishes unless they want to forego the armor from the Mountain Fire armor. And I think that's a very smart plan from Team Liquid. It's very dangerous as their life total is dwindling, but Virtus.pro doesn't have a ton of direct damage in the deck. You know, outside of a big N'Zoth board or Scourge Lord Garrosh hitting the board, they're very limited.
Right, and if the N'Zoth comes out, the Freeze Mage is going to be able to most likely just freeze the board.
Let the pain speak to me.
Wow, they're going to forego the Mountain Fire armor. This is working great for Team Liquid.
Yeah, they have to be able to get card draw going.
Oh my. Oh my.
It'll bring back the Mountain Fire armors as well as a taunt.
That is the pressure that keeps this going. Team Liquid looking like they're in a reasonable spot to continue this game. Let's hear what they think.
Yeah. We actually get 3 fireballs.
Yeah.
We just do it, right?
Yeah, Anton coin AI. And also it's like, they don't kill it every time, right?
Yeah, it's very small chance though. They draw so much.
Nah, yeah, they just go weapon execute basically. So we need Alex.
Yeah.
Fast.
So that's my hand. I want to get rid of Whirlwind. Whirlwind and execute, right?
Yeah.
Whirlwind, execute.
Maybe even weapon. Yeah.
The weapon's probably also bad.
So weapon, execute. No, Whirlwind, right?
Yeah,
Weapon for sure.
Whirlwind execute for sure.
Need to find armor here.
Yeah, I want to armor up, so I'll put Deadman's Hand. Deadman's Hand and Hero Power. Wait, do we really need to shuffle this hand?
Well, you want to play N'Zoth next turn, right? That's the point. That's why you want to shuffle it now, because you want to have N'Zoth back. I mean, a lot of the cards are bad, but you want N'Zoth back really bad.
Job done.
Yeah.
They have Armor Smith in hand.
So Acolyte Pink.
Yeah.
Let the pain speak to me.
If we use a fireball here, we miss 1 damage. But we're being mana efficient. Because it might take time to do all the things. I think we have fireball, right?
You sure? We can't just go like...
Barrier, that's the other options.
No, we can't just go like block, frostbolt, but that's... Is that a no?
Yeah, I guess. What do we need Frostbolt for? Not really anything, right?
Yeah, no, it has to go face, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's fine. They probably just... Do they just N'Zoth here? I mean, the thing with N'Zoth here is that, like... We need to kill their minions. If we don't kill their minions, it's not important. Do we even have time?
Whoa. This is tough.
And Team Liquid is facing down this huge N'Zoth board, but if they kill the minions, then their game plan of, you know, investing in the fireballs and trying to go for the burn route kind of falls by the wayside with the armor gain.
Does the Archmage mean no Jaina?
Usually, yeah. Usually the Archmage signals that it's going to be a freeze mage rather than a, you know, burn mage. We haven't seen any mana worms, and
I mean, they don't have Alex either. They needed to land an Alex amidst all this nonsense going on. Now that they're under pressure, the Alex is pretty much off the table.
They could still land it. It's
just that's not the window that they needed, though. They needed to land Alex and then start chucking burn spells.
Right.
The fact that they missed that is...
It's very important that they use Blizzard here instead of Frost Nova, because it eliminates the ability for Virtus.pro to play Armor Smith and then Whirlwind effects.
Card draw about even now, or if a Fatigue battle is ever set in, but Virtus.pro still 2 copies of Armor Smith. They still have an extra N'Zoth here. They have a ton of ways to keep Team Liquid under pressure. Get 2 extra cards from the Dire Horns, potentially more from the N'Zoths. Let's listen to Team Liquid. This spot's looking mighty rough.
Nova. We don't fireball?
No, I don't think so.
Why? It's like... Are you sure? We need to get Alex like basically next turn because we don't have any more freezes, right?
Yeah.
So after we Alex...
Actually, we have one more Nova.
Oh yeah, we'll have one more Nova. But you still think we don't fireball?
And we also have block. And will Barrier save us? Barrier might save us too. Yeah, Barrier will save us. I think we don't fireball.
Okay. They can just go Garrus now though, and they also heal for more. Just like armor up Garrus, and then they have the Whirlwinds for Armor Smiths. That's basically their play, most likely. And they also have another seal block. Yeah, we basically just like lose to all of their cards here. They really
Armor Smith double weapon.
Do you attack first?
Yeah, we'll attack first. Oh, actually, no. I want to equip and then attack, right?
Yeah, probably.
Job's done.
Yeah, this deck farmed us, basically.
Oh, there she is. Do we need to ping the Armor Smith first? Ping Fireball, and next turn Alex. We don't get popped.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, we'll just ping first. Like, Alex doesn't really do that much. We still need to burn through the armor. The party doesn't matter. He has like 2 shield slams and 2 execute red.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter at all.
Well, it's slim pickings, but this is the hand they're dealt. Like the play here, delay the Alexstrasza, you're not under threat of the block getting popped. Alexstrasza comes down, then you have to block, Fireball, the Pyroblast. Hope
Makes
it's enough.
sense. Yeah, you have another Fireball in the deck. But other than that, no additional burn. So Team Liquid is looking at 22 points of damage.
We didn't see Novice, we didn't see Loot Hoarder, we didn't see Blood Mage.
Yeah, a lot of the card draws in the remaining of the deck.
Is it card draw?
I imagine so. They have a Frost Nova, an Acolyte of Pain, a Doomsayer, an Arcanologist, a Fireball, and most likely a Blood Mage Thalnos remaining. No Loot Hoarders in the deck. They run 2 Ice Barriers. So this Freeze Mage deck is kitted out to do very well against aggro and worse against control, which is why they didn't immediately queue it into this Warrior deck. They cut card draw for Ice Barrier.
Block number 1 is down. And Team Liquid, I don't think they're piecing together 30 damage here before they're out.
No. It looks like the Warrior deck is going to be
just straight up outlasted.
Yeah.
Scoops it up. Virtus.pro takes the set. 6 games to 3. The best dang video game team ever. And a great start here in the Trinity series.
Yeah, they're up 2-0 now, I believe, in the Trinity series, right?
So they're looking mighty strong. And Virtus.pro, this is the sort of stuff you expect from them, is to be able to come to these matches and really put on good performances. But something that to me that's unique is that they've done it oftentimes with controlling style of decks. This is now 2 weeks in a row where control has really been a big talking point for them.
Right, so if you're on one of the other teams and you have to play against Virtus.pro, just throw some Karens in your deck. Just stuff that beats up on control, you know? You'll have a great time.
The Karen Tempo Rogue. I've been seeing it.
It's really good against some of these controlling decks. Throw Karen in some mid-range Hunter.
Play some Jade Rogue.
Just play Jade everything.
Yeah, Jade Shaman.
Throw that in there. Yeah, get some N'Zoth in the Shaman.
Play those Elementals, the Savants, or the Servant of Kalamos. Find more Jade Spirits.
Right, and then all of a sudden Virtus.pro will play all aggro decks. You'll be screwed.
You're like, how did they know? Firebat, you led me down the wrong path.
But it is true that one of the best ways to counter controlling decks is playing a slightly slower control-y deck and then killing all of their stuff.
Typically, the method that I've seen to beating any deck is either you want to be 1 step slightly slower so that you have bigger stuff, but you keep up, or you want to be 2 steps faster. If you're 1 step faster, you get beat. But if you're 2 steps faster, it always feels like you're that little bit ahead and can close out the games. But that's a very difficult thing to actually execute. A lot easier to theorize than it is to put into practice.
And it looks like players are going to need to be a little bit more aware of Warrior. We saw Liquid in Week 1 and in Week 2 self-ban their Warrior, and they got completely trounced by a Warrior deck, the deck that they believed was the worst class out of all 9 classes because they self-banned it from themselves.
Well, honestly, just their decks weren't built to handle it. It looks like that they pretty much ignored that class, and it ended up costing this week. You know, if they'd brought Quest Mage, there's potentially get punished by the double Dirty Rat.
Even if they had
Virtus.pro brought.
Even if they just had Jaina in their Mage, it opens up a different way they could play that matchup. So instead of having to go all in on the burn plan, they could maybe try and go for outlasting the Warrior plan. Like, the N'Zoth Warrior is in a really interesting place where it has tons of power against decks that don't have any ultimate win condition, but every deck that has an ultimate win condition just stomps the N'Zoth Warrior because it doesn't actually kill you.
Yeah.
It's so slow at dealing damage. It's got 4 minions that are offensive threats, and then it has N'Zoth, and that's about it. Other than that, it's just pure removal. So any deck that has like a super late game win condition can just really body that deck in the later stages, especially if you play towards fatigue and understand what your opponent's deck is trying to do and realize, hey, they can't play minions every turn. They run 4.
Something I love about the Trinity series is the breadth of strategy means that deck building continues to evolve. But we